Hey, what's up, everybody? I don't know if that was a shit show. Trying to figure out how to get that intro in here, and it seems that I don't know. I didn't do a good job of it. I'm trying to unplug cords. I didn't realize that the computer was going to make noises. I don't know if you guys heard that or not. Oh, there we go. More buzzing. All right. Now we're back to this. Welcome to episode 11 of 15 Beers. We're going to be talking to some Riff Lords today. This is the first week of the every other week podcast. I think that's a lot more manageable. Hopefully I'll be able to figure out audio issues, or I don't know. We'll see. Or it'll be just the same shit. The last week's episode was the first one that I put up on podcast sites, so if you want to go listen to that, hopefully the sound quality will get better as I go along. Today we're going to be talking with Pat Harrington from Geezer, John Bryan from Wall of Ego and Dead Empires, and Jesse Cunningham from Elk and the Blind Ambassadors. Knuckle Diver and Fuse too. Maybe we'll be a little drunk by the time we talk to him. We'll talk about some 90s Ulster County rock and roll riffs. I have a co-host for the day today. I have Una, but she's more interested in what's going on in the kitchen right now. She should be right up here as we go along. What else? I feel like I had more to say. I don't know. So there won't be an episode next week. The next episode will be in July, whatever the first Tuesday is in July. We'll do that. If anyone has any ideas as to what a topic, we've done Riff Lords. We did drummers last week. I guess we can go like keyboard players, go bass players, or we go off the grid. We go performance artists. Who knows? All right. Well, Pat Harrington's gonna be our first guest, and we'll give him a call. Let's get on it.
Hello.
Yo, what's up, man?
What's happening, man?
How you living?
Living hot.
Yes,
Sweating my ass off.
it's been fucking brutal. I feel like last year was the first year I did the dog walking, and I got a very cush year. Like it didn't get really hot until almost July, and then it stayed hot. This year it started in like mid-May, and it just hasn't fucking stopped.
Yeah, just to add the insult to injury.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a crazy time. How have you been for this whole like lockdown situation? Like, what level of leaving the house are you at?
We're not at, normal yet, I guess.
Yeah.
We were fairly strict throughout, especially the first 2 months. We live with my mother, who definitely is a high, what's the word?
High risk kind of
High risk
situation,
thank
yeah.
you. And so we kept it tight for a long time.
Yeah.
And now, we go out, we go shopping, we wear masks.
Yeah.
We've started to socialize a little bit, especially with people that have been doing the same. Then I feel we're at a spot where we're confident that we can hang out. Actually, this past weekend, for the first time, we took the kids out west. My wife's family has my wife has a lot of family in Western New York, so we went out there so the kids could get down with their cousins and shit. That was important.
Yeah.
The kids just have not had any interaction for 3 months now. So
yeah. There's gonna be a time for like children that age are good. I mean, not everyone's gonna remember this forever, but I think it's gonna have a lot deeper impact on kids, younger children.
Absolutely, and that's been a big thing that Liz and I have been focusing on, is doing our best to not lose our shit. Oh, sorry.
I think no, you can definitely fucking curse. That's fine.
To not lose our shit, so the kids can feel. I mean, like you said, they're going to remember it, but we're going to try and hopefully not make it terrifying for them.
Where in Western New York?
We kind of bounced around. We started around near Rochester, and then her uncle has a cottage on Lake Ontario, kind of in the middle of nowhere between like Rochester and Buffalo. And so we spent the night there. We had our tent. We went they have a little cottage, but they have a nice piece of land. So we set up the tent, and it was the first family camping adventure. So it worked out well.
Awesome. It's funny you said that because the first comment on the stream here, I don't think many people are watching yet or whatever, but the first comment is from this dude that works at Middle Ages Brewing in Syracuse, and he said the new geezer is groovy.
Ah, sweet. All right.
You got some fans in Syracuse. How has that been putting out an album during this? Like you were planning to put it out before all this happened, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, so we got hooked up with the record label Heavy Psych Sounds. I want to say that was back in January, if I remember correctly. Okay. And by February, we had known the release date and the general plan. And so it was really only about a month before things started to fall apart.
Yeah.
That we had. And so for that, I think we were very lucky in a few ways, because if we had not connected with that record label, if we had not set, the kind of release dates the way that we did, we might have had absolutely not had a record coming out. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So we got in just before things started to get crazy, and in addition, releasing the record in June as opposed to say March or April. Even though this is not over, people are, especially around here, are dealing with this much differently now than we were back in March or April. So I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of bands who were releasing albums back then, they kind of lost momentum because everybody was so wrapped up in this other thing. So I think we've been very lucky because it's come out at a better time. Unfortunately, we can't go out and promote it like we were planning. But in the grand scheme of things, I can't really complain about it. I mean, the most important thing is, we got the record out and people are responding to it very strongly in a very positive way. So we feel that once this is all over, we'll still be in a better position to go out there and take advantage of it. But it's been tough.
Yeah. Was there ever any conversation about pushing the release back until you could support it?
Not really. I mean, the label that we deal with, we pushed it back a few weeks initially, but they have a lot of bands on their label and they have a schedule to go. And they're based out of Rome, so God bless them. Like before New York was ground zero.
Absolutely.
Rome was ground zero, and those guys were in the middle of it like 3 weeks before we were, and they were still able to keep everything going. So we're very fortunate that we're with that kind of a record label too, because they were able to keep the ball rolling, which is all we really wanted.
That's awesome. It's a kind of an interesting idea because it's like so many people are at home and looking for media to consume. So in some ways, it's a great time to put out an album.
Absolutely.
But in other times, people are worried about income you can't do the live shows to promote it.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially with music, entertainment in general, as you know, man, like there's so many of us who are suffering and so many people whose livelihoods depend on that money.
Absolutely.
And we have no idea, like, we just entered phase 3 here in the Hudson Valley, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I mean, still, when are you going to play a show again, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I have no idea.
Some people have been, I think like acoustic, more acoustic stuff. Like I think Lara's has played at Keegan's already. I think they're doing stuff. There's some stuff like that. But yeah, for like loud bands, I don't know when that's gonna. Yeah, that's gonna be a while.
It's a different ball game. So, but the whole world is
exactly
is
dealing with this
right
same
now,
thing.
So,
I mean, I think it's gonna be interesting to me. Because I have friends in like Tennessee and whatnot, and these places are opening for shows now. I'm pretty sure, or like relatively soon, but it's at like smaller capacities. So I think some of these bands that are used to only having 10 people at a show, now it's going to be a little more prestigious. Like you can only let 25 in, so they'll have the full 25. So for some bands, it might be better.
Well, I thought about that too. I'm like, so if we're talking about like doing shows at 25% or 50% capacity, I mean, let's be honest, like my band's, I could play a bigger venue and fill it, 25%, sure, no problem.
Yeah, there you go. That's great.
the one thing I got to say about that, though, is the problem you're going to have, and smaller towns may not be as bad, but for places like New York City,
people are going to come from everywhere.
Well, no, it's not so much that, but
Okay.
even if they're operating at 50% capacity, the venues and the promoters are it may not be worth it for them to do that kind of shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I don't know how this is all going to work out. We'll just have to wait and see and do the best we can do in the meantime.
Yeah, that's what I do. Something like event staff work for like UPAC and the Bardavon, and they basically, for them to go at a smaller capacity is just not worth it. So they're like pretty much, I don't know if they've officially said they're done until 2021, but more or less there's not very much chance of them doing anything significant before then because of that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So this album, when you've had it recorded for a while, like you linked up with the record company in January. You said you recorded it last year.
Yeah, it was recorded. We did the basics, the drums, bass, and most of the guitars in one weekend last August. And we did it right here in Kingston at Dark World Studio.
Nice.
And then we took our time with some of the post-production kind of stuff, and as usual, whenever you're getting into mixing and all this, people's schedules need to align and all that. And, so go and we knew we wanted to shop this record. We haven't shopped a record since the very first record we did, and so we were sitting on it for a while to make sure a few things lined up before we even put it out there. So
you've just been self-releasing the albums before this?
No, we've worked with different record labels in the stoner rock world. We've kind of bounced around. STB Records was the first one that we hooked up with, and at that time they were doing incredible things, especially with vinyl packages and stuff. And we've worked with Ripple Music and Cosmic Artifacts out of Germany. And one good thing about the scene that Geezer kind of rotates around in is there are a lot of these smaller record labels that bands can hook up with, and you're not going to be selling 1 million records, but you can sell a couple of hundred records around the world and do some cool shit.
Absolutely. Did you have plans to, like, were you had the label in Rome, were you planning to get over to Europe anytime before all this happened, obviously?
Yeah, we were booking a tour for the end of the year, which now is done.
Oh,
so,
man.
Yeah, that's a big disappointment.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But, 2021, springtime, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, at least you have something to look forward to with that.
Yeah.
Is this the first album with Steve Marcotte?
Yeah, this is the first one with Steve, and we did an EP with Steve, the Spiral Fires EP, which came out last year. But this is the first full length we've done with Steve, and Steve's been with us for about 3 years now, and we spent a good amount of time just kind of, we didn't really know Steve at all prior to that. We played with him a couple of times with his other bands, but I didn't really know him. So we spent a good time, like, kind of feeling each other out and seeing how we work together and developing songs along the way. And so he had a huge impact on this record. And I think just the great thing was that by the time we got to recording and preparing for this album, all three of us were really on the same page.
Nice.
And so that when you have, especially with a power trio like that, if you have all three guys on the same page working towards the same goal with the same ideas of what the music should be, then really that changes everything, and it's a rare thing.
Yeah, definitely. I like the way, like, listening to the new album, the way you guys use space. Like, all three of you have, are taking up a big chunk of space, but it's all, spread out in a enjoyable way,
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I think we try, we try and service the song as much as possible. I'm gonna go off and do my guitar noodling thing, and
but the bass is like very present. Everything has its own presence. Like,
thank you. Yeah. And we try and do that. We want it to be a band, I don't want it to be just Pat Harrington and the Geezers.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I feel like you can feel everyone's personality in the music. You can definitely Richie with the bass, has a big personality and presence in the music, and with the drums as well. I feel like there's lots of, been listening to this while I'm doing deliveries for the last week or two, and there's lots of weird, like, panned, like, hi-hat or tambourine stuff that, like, is kind of makes it, this like a trippy experience almost, you know, just where the panning of certain, like, weird, like, small drum sounds are coming from, you know?
Yeah, and Steve, that was probably one of the biggest impacts that Steve made, because when we did all the basics, he had started to set up kind of a studio in his place. So I just basically gave him all the tracks and was like, okay, go do your percussion thing. And he took his time for sure. But, you know, like, all, you know, he did all that himself, all the tambourines.
Oh, so he just added, like, after the fact, you, like, did
after the fact.
Okay.
Yeah. But, you know, he's the kind of dude that, like, he already had a good amount of that shit in his head ahead of time.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
He would write his drum parts knowing, you know, okay, I'll keep an eighth note on the hi-hat here because I want to do 16th notes on a tambourine there. You know what I mean?
That's great. That's awesome.
And I'm a, you know, big AC/DC fan, and I tell the story a lot, but, like, if you listen to those early AC/DC albums, like, there's so many examples. Like Problem Child is a great example, where they do the first verse and they get through the chorus, and then when they kick into the second verse, suddenly there's this shaker in there really high in the mix that's doing like 16th notes, and suddenly your ass is bouncing off the walls. You're like, oh my God, you know. And AC/DC was great for that. A lot of those old school 70s rock bands were great for that kind of shit. Absolutely. Whether it was a cowbell, a tambourine, or a shaker, I think, you know, to me,
I was going to ask about that too. On Dig, did you have to ask Steve for more cowbell, or he just jumped right on it?
No, he jumped right in with that shit. And that's the other thing. Like, you know, we were very self-aware about what we were doing with this album, and so there was no, like, nobody had any real kind of hang-ups about, oh, that's too predictable, or it's too this or too that. It was just like, just fucking go for it. So yeah, I mean, and that's a great example. Like in Dig, when that riff kicks in and he starts hitting the cowbell, it's like, oh wow, this, like, now we're on a different level here.
Yeah, no, there's a couple of times in that song in particular where it gets, you know, it goes in a direction that I don't think is obvious. At least, you know, I don't know.
Oh, right on. Very cool.
Yeah, I dig it. I think I was reading, like, on your Facebook thing, you have the promotion thing for this album, talking about this is the first album that you, like, planned out ahead of time, or maybe I'm not using the words right, but, like, you had a cohesive vision for it beforehand.
Yeah, you know, Geezer started out with me and Chris Turco, and initially we had, you know, our initial bass player, he lived in Ithaca, Freddie Volano. He was an old friend of mine. He lived in Ithaca, so, like, we didn't rehearse or anything. So even when we recorded, it was shit that, like, I would have some song ideas and we would just do it right there.
Yeah.
So for the first bunch of years, that's kind of how we operated. And then when Richie showed up for our self-titled album, we spent about a year planning everything out. But then Chris left the band and things were in flux again for a few years. So it's been a while since we've been able to do that again. You know, it's been like 4 years.
So you started this band in what, like 2013? Earlier?
I just got a thing on Facebook.
This is the one good thing about Facebook is the memories. You can tell how many years ago.
It was just this month, June of 2012, that we started.
Oh, right on.
We recorded the first record. So the band started probably the summer prior to that, like 2011.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, we just thought when we started, we just thought we were going to be playing around town and, you know, like, maybe venture out into New Paltz every now and again. But but things kind of, you know, we got lucky in a few ways, and the reception of the band has always been very strong. So I'm the kind of guy that, like, okay, well, if they like this, then maybe we can do this, and then maybe we could do that.
Fuck
and next thing you know, it's 8 years later, and we're all like,
it's amazing.
How the fuck did that happen?
I've seen,
but it's been great. I do gotta say, man, the band is a direct result. Like, it could have never happened. You know, I lived in New York City for a long time, and Chris Turco lived in New York City, and we met here in Kingston, and we were very much a product of Kingston, and it was perfect because right as the time as we were kind of growing, you know, the scene around here started to grow. You know, first there was a Rundown Music Lounge that turned into the Anchor. BSP really became something, and now you have like Tubby's, and unfortunately a lot of those places are in flux right now. We don't know what's happening, but we're very proud of the fact that, you know, this is a Kingston band, and we're proud that like everything we've done around here, whether it's, you know, we've always tried to record locally, we've always tried to use local artists for our artwork. Everything we do, we try and have it as local as possible, and you know, it's been a really rewarding experience because the success of the band, to whatever degree of success we have, we think a big part of that is due to what we have here in Kingston.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I saw a Facebook post that you made saying that this is a band that you've always wanted to be in, and I found that like very moving. You know, that was like nice to hear that.
Well,
you know,
it's one of those things where, you know, like you don't know what you're looking for until you find it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
All of a sudden you're like, but you know how it is, man. Like the music industry is so fucking weird.
You can't chase what you think people want, because that's a fucking, you know, that never ever, you know, because it's always the original thing that people don't know they want that's the most, you know, significant or powerful or whatever. But
and whereas I am in love with heavy music and all that stuff, I've always, you know, I was a deadhead for many years, and that improvisational side of me, I've always thought, I always, the thing that always bothered me about metal or in the psychedelic music was I always wanted my psychedelic music to be heavier, and I always wanted my metal to be more psychedelic. So
there you go.
That's kind of where the idea of Geezer kind of started to come out of. First it was, let's just be a heavy blues band, and then it was like, well, we can all improvise, so let's just do that, and then it just kind of went from there.
Right on. That's awesome. Like, what are some of your, like, what drove you to play guitar? Is it you started with the Grateful Dead stuff?
No, I started, the first song I learned to play on guitar, the first like rock and roll song, was Good Times Bad Times by Led Zeppelin.
Okay, fuck yeah.
I was just one of those guys. I remember being 5. You know, when I was 5, I was a Kiss fan.
Yeah.
You know, and then I had an older brother who introduced me to Led Zeppelin, and I remember walking to the department store in my town on Long Island to buy Led Zeppelin 2 on cassette. You know, like music was always a thing for me. And then I had a keyboard at one point when I was younger, but it didn't click. And then, you know, honestly, I've told the story before. I saw Purple Rain came out.
Oh fuck yeah, yeah!
I saw the video for Let's Go Crazy, and the solo at the end of that when they show Prince on top of the monitors and he's just ripping it, and I'm just like, yeah, that's it. That's what I want to do, you know.
Fuck yeah.
But so then once I started playing guitar when I was 10 and started with lessons, and my guitar teacher was this Randy Rhoads looking cat with a BC Ridge bitch.
Long Island, right? Yeah, Long Island
Long
about
Island,
that time, yeah.
You know, this is probably like 1982 or
Fuck
83. Yeah. And so instantly, you know, and then it just became guitar-driven rock. So Led Zeppelin, you know, to Black Sabbath, to AC/DC, to then Iron Maiden, Metallica, Slayer, Celtic Frost, and, you know, on and on and on. But then metal became kind of, especially in Long Island, you know, there was all these rules if you were a metalhead.
Okay.
And
like what kind of rules are we talking? What
well, there was
era?
Always like, oh, that's not metal enough. You know, this isn't. You know, it was a time where like goofy shit was happening. You know, and like Judas Priest came out with Turbo Lover, and you're like, well, that kind of sucks.
Oh, okay, that's pretty early on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. But
I was thinking even later when you're talking like Living Color, or you know, there's a couple other bands, Fate's Warning. You know, there was some other where I feel like the later '80s where metal started getting pushed in some weird, more progressive boundaries, and it was lashed back to that. You know.
Yeah, but you know, like bands like Guns N' Roses kind of opened the door to be like, oh man, you could be a heavy band but still be like a dangerous rock and roll band.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or like, you know, I remember the first time I saw the video for Mountain Song from Jane's Addiction.
Holy
shit,
definitely.
what the fuck was that? and that started to change my perception of what music could be, because I was feeling boxed in. And then, I started to take acid, and then I heard a Grateful Dead song and was off to the races with that.
So that's a funny way to do it. You kind of you did the rock and roll and into the metal stuff, and then into the Grateful Dead afterwards.
Yeah, I can't explain it, man. Yeah. Other than I really like doing acid.
Me too, man. Me too.
But I do gotta say, even though I cringe at some of that stuff these days, I learned how to improvise by playing along to Grateful Dead records.
Fuck yeah.
Same thing with the Allman Brothers. If anybody, the Grateful Dead opened the door to some things, but like the Allman Brothers, for example, was where I was like, oh my God, like, because once you hear Duane Allman and Dickie Betts playing guitar together, then it's a whole new world. And that, once again, that was a band that kind of changed everything for me, because then it wasn't even about like trying to be Eddie Van Halen, which I knew I could never be. It wasn't about fretboard gymnastics. Like,
gotcha. It's more about feel and.
Yeah, it's about feel, and more important than anything to me is phrasing. And that, that was driven home to me by especially bands like the Allman Brothers, because you listen to Duane Allman play guitar and it's like somebody singing. I mean, you can't, so, and again, so having that kind of background, when it came time to try and figure out what I wanted to do, it was like I had all those different pieces, and it just took a really long time for me to figure out how to put them together.
So, like, when were you playing in bands back in those days, or you?
So I did college where I didn't really play much. And
you in Long Island, or?
I went to college in Connecticut.
Okay.
And then went back to Long Island after that. And odd story, I broke my wrist actually a month before I graduated college, and then I had it in a cast for like 3 months, so that summer sucked. Once I got the cast off, I went right away and started just shedding on the guitar again, because not that I was already, like, in high school, we would play clubs and stuff, and I had already recorded original music. So
what kind of bands in high school? Like, it's funny. I'm just picturing
thrash band.
Okay, that's what I'm picturing. Like drumming for you in a thrash band, and all of a sudden you start doing acid and fucking rocking some Allman Brothers, Grateful Dead stuff. That's got to be a little bit culture clash.
Hated me. They thought I was a sellout, man. That Pat, he's a fucking sellout.
That's fucking
man.
great.
He's going to Dead shows. So yeah, then I started after college, and I broke my wrist. So then I started playing again, because I didn't want to lose whatever it was that I had, and that's when it really clicked for me. And like, this is where I'm supposed to be. So right away, I started to try and get into bands in the city, and started to stumble my way through that. And then I found a couple of bands in the city that clicked, and got to do some really cool shit.
And this is kind of like early 90s, mid 90s?
By the time I got into the city, we were late 90s.
Okay.
I was playing in the city. Basically, I started playing in the city and just being around that whole thing, starting around 95.
Were you living down there, or were you living up here? Or
I lived in Long Island initially, and was commuting. I worked in the city. I worked at Manny's Music on 48th Street for a little while.
Nice.
And then, so I was commuting back and forth, and then I moved into the city in 98. And then that's when I basically full-time, I worked at Sam Ash for a couple of years, and, did that whole thing. But then it was my band Slunt in 2002 that took off around 2004, actually, where we got to do a lot of great things. We opened up for Marilyn Manson and Motorhead. Not opened up, we toured with Marilyn Manson and Motorhead.
Wow.
And Paul Stanley and
COC.
Amazing. And so we got to do a lot of amazing stuff, and that was my first kind of like entry into the music business, as it were.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it seems from like who you've like toured with and who you played with, that was especially in that era, that was a pretty cool. It
was unbelievable, man. Because we were just playing. Back then, New York City, there was still CBGBs, there was still the Continental. We still had
Coney Island
circuit.
High, and like I don't know. Yeah.
But the thing about being a city band that's weird is like you don't go anywhere.
Okay.
You play like once or twice a month, and back then anyway, there were enough clubs where you just, okay, this month we're playing Continental, next month we're playing CBs, the month after that we're playing Don Hills.
Gotcha.
And the whole idea is to create a buzz to get some industry guy or whatever to come down.
There wasn't a big DIY, we're going to book a tour.
I mean, it was, but it wasn't. But you also got to remember the time that I was doing that was around like 2002 was when all that started. It was after September 11th, and everybody that we were, all of us who were there and in the middle of that shit, we thought we were going to die anyway. So we just were like, fuck it. And there are a lot of bands that like started to kind of congregate around each other. Yeah. And a scene developed because everyone was just like, fuck it, I'm going to go out, partying. And so it was an interesting time to be there. But because of the nature of it, not many bands, progressed past that. I was lucky enough to be in a band that did.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and then once you go through that for a couple of years, we toured for a couple of years. We did the States, we did Europe a bunch of times. Then, after that, you come out the other end of that, and then everything's kind of different, I guess.
Yeah. Like you can't go back to 25% capacity bar shows, or.
Well, no. I mean, I guess at one point I was foolish enough to think that I wouldn't do that, but no, it was more just like, I think it's more like, you see, okay, for example, the first major tour we did was Marilyn Manson.
Okay.
This was 2004, so this is not Antichrist Superstar Marilyn Manson. This is greatest hits Marilyn Manson.
Yeah,
okay. There's still anywhere from 2,500 to 5,000 seat venues.
Yeah, that's huge.
Which was huge for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
But and so and it was just us and them. So we got along. They had an excellent crew. It was professional, and that was really the eye opener.
Are you guys chasing a tour bus in like a van at that point, or?
No, we were just 15-passenger van with a trailer.
Yeah, which is some of those drives for the big guys. They sleep overnight and just wake up where they are, right?
Yeah, you know the drill with that stuff, man. There was none of that for us.
Yeah,
but we got to see, and I got to see for the very first time the real what is real about the music industry and what is bullshit.
Yeah.
And then once you see it, like, you see what's important. And for a great example, especially coming out of New York City, everybody's the biggest hot shit in the world. Everybody who goes to New York City to be a rock star is like type A+ personality.
Yeah.
And thinks they're God's greatest gift. And I've met fabulous people, amazing artists, amazing musicians, but you still there's this sense of weird competition. Everybody thinks they have to be the most professional thing in the world.
Yeah.
But yet they don't do anything other than playing, around the city. When you go out and then you see how real bands operate and meet real rock stars, none of that is there.
Yeah, exactly.
Paul Stanley, we toured with him. He's one of the nicest fucking guys I've ever met. From day one, we walk in, the first show we were doing with them, he's on stage doing sound check, stops sound check, calls us over, shakes our hands.
Wow.
And, and the nicest guy in the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
so that's crazy, yeah.
More often than not, that's the case. The people who are really the professionals, the people who really know what's up, are not worried about what other people think or anything. They're just doing their thing, and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So, and what brought an end to Slunt? Like, everyone just moved on?
Well, we were a 2-girl band.
Yeah, when I was looking for pictures to put up for this, I saw like a picture of you guys that was like, you guys looked like a fucking rock and roll band, man. That was a good looking. I wish I would have taken it so I could put it up on the screen right now, but that was a good fucking picture, man.
Yeah, our singer got pregnant, and that was that. Yeah.
Fair enough. That's not as bad as her starting a rockabilly band, but it's still rough.
Well, the unfortunate thing was we had just finished our second album and just released our second album, which was miles above where our first album was. And we were kind of poised to start really
getting
making
a little
bit.
Oh, fuck.
And it just kind of got stopped dead in its tracks. And it is what it is, man. I can't.
Yeah, but I mean, that gave you the perspective and the whatever insight to decide that you wanted to do this, and now you get to do this.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like you said, it gave me the insight and the perspective to kind of eventually figure out how to kind of venture out on my own,
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's hard to figure out. Like, for me right now, I'm not even sure, especially now that shows aren't a thing. Because I had, like, me and Mal had the acoustic Red Necromancer stuff, and, you make a little bit of money, and we were getting booked, so it was easy. But now that there's not shows, it's like I can do anything I want. I can do, full electric music myself, I'm just not even sure what I want to do, It's like
it's a crazy time. Yeah, I agree.
I think it's cool in a way because everyone's not, you're not. I think you're going to come out with a lot of interesting music with people just doing stuff for the sake of doing it.
I think so too, and I think also it'll be a little bit of a cleanse in that, if you take money out of the equation, usually the only people that are left are the
people
ones
that want
to
do it. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. What about the rate you do Electric Beer to Doom, right?
Yeah, I have the last year or so. I haven't really done it. I kind of fell off the radar for me a bit. But yeah, I was doing that for about 5 years.
And that was like you just started doing that is like a podcast kind of thing. It's like how does that work?
It was a podcast for the most part. It was a podcast. I did one every 2 weeks. Initially, I was connected to various internet radio stations.
Gotcha.
As well as just putting it up on the Mixcloud page. But eventually, I just kind of ventured. I just did it on my own. As time wore on, it got tougher to do. I had, it started actually just because my first son was born and I was in a Mr. Mom kind of situation. My wife was traveling a lot for work at the time. So I was like, well, I'm going to be home. I need something to do. So I just that's kind of where I ended up.
Yeah.
But as I was going into the 5th year and everything, now I had 2 kids and a job and my living situation was different, so it just became harder and harder to keep up. So eventually I did do a new one about a month or so ago for the first time in like a year, and I'll probably bring it back every now and again. But it was a super rewarding experience. I felt I got so much out of that experience, especially through promoting other bands and hyping up other people's stuff. It came back to me tenfold. You know what I mean? So
I've been watching these like Murder in the Front Row, these documentary, like basically like 80s thrash metal documentaries.
Oh yeah.
And you see a lot of these bands like Anthrax and Metallica, Exodus, all these bands that are huge now are just like these fucking nerdy teenagers that are tape trading, just mailing each other fucking tapes, I remember booking shows in the 90s where we're just mailing out our little, like, kind of 90s post-punk tapes to everybody,
Yeah.
And that's the Beer to Doom kind of reminds me of that, the digital version of that, where, you're letting all these people, you're sharing this community with a bunch of people,
And that's exactly right, man. And it's essentially like making a mixtape for your friends.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, even with the quarantine, you just haven't, because it almost seems like that's like would be good for the whole quarantine situation.
It was, and that's why I did do another one. But I just, it's been a weird 3 months, man.
Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. Well, that's what I like. I started this to like, I'm like, if I'm gonna just descend into madness, I might as well chronicle it. Let people see the downward spiral. But then I got busier for some reason during this than I was before. I don't know. Things got normal quicker than I expected them to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if this is normal.
Yeah, exactly. I guess maybe not normal. I just adjusted to it quicker than I expected to. That's, I guess, adaptable at 45. I don't know. Right on. So have you guys been practicing at all during this?
We have. We started practicing about 4 or 5 weeks ago. We've done we hooked up at this rehearsal studio up in Saugerties because we were rehearsing at a Steve's apartment, but that situation is not really doable anymore.
Gotcha.
So then we hooked up at the studio up in Saugerties, which was a great experience. But he has to close his doors because he got wiped out.
Yeah.
Because of the COVID thing. So right now we're looking for a new home. So if anybody's got a rehearsal space that you know of,
there you go.
Geezer's looking for one.
An excellent band, to have in your rehearsal space. What is your thing now? Are you concentrating on new stuff or just brushing up on stuff from the album?
Well, we want to do. I don't think it's going to be a live stream, but we're going to film.
Something, yeah.
We're going to do a thing, and we want to film us playing the album in its entirety.
Oh, that'd be fucking awesome, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. So we're just trying to pull everything together. That's something we definitely want to have done by the end of the summer.
Okay.
And then figure out some way to promote that and make stuff happen through that.
Do you have like a venue in mind for that, or like is there a vision?
No, that's kind of what it's kind of what we're starting to figure out right now.
I mean, it might be an interesting time because you have a lot of like places that you might not normally be able to get. You might be able to like rent for a little bit cheaper, or you might be able to do something that you couldn't normally do because places are closed. Yeah,
that's basically the idea. Is we want to have something. Initially we were just going to do it, have us in a jam room playing stuff, but then it was like, listen, if we take the time, and we have the resources, let's see what we can figure out, and maybe make some art out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
In addition, I've because we have been sitting at home quarantined, like I've had, especially the first month or two of quarantine, like I had a guitar in my hand virtually all the time.
So you got a lot of shit written, yeah.
Yeah. So in the times that we have been jamming, we've been working on new material and working on new ideas. So we'll see.
I mean, you guys from even the beginning of this, I was just looking at your discography when I was looking it up. Like, you don't go very long without putting something out.
No, and it's weird because, like I told you, like we finished this album back in the end of last year, and it took 6 months to come out. Like during those downtimes, I get so bored. Like, I'm just like, by the time the album comes out, I'm like, whatever. But you should hear this new song we got.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, I've been, we've talked about it. I've been doing this, kind of playing out since like '95. Over the course of those 25 years, I don't think I've spent more than a few months not being in some band. I like band shit. I like being in a band. Yeah. I like being in stinky old bars at 1 a.m. on a weeknight. I love the lifestyle. I love touring. I love everything about it. So I just like, why stop?
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of the interesting thing with like putting out your own stuff, or like having to promote your own stuff, is that by the time all the production and all that's done, like if you could do the promotion before it was done, when you were really excited about it, it'd be easy to do. Send out people send everyone emails about how good it's going to be. But then by the time you're done, you've listened to it 40 times in mixing and mastering, and it's hard to, like, for me at least, to get like super pumped up about it at that point. It's almost like I'm ready for the next thing,
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, all right, man. This has been fucking great talking to you.
Yeah, right on, man.
I dug
Thank you so much for having me, dude.
Yeah. If anyone comments with the practice space, I'll let you know.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing the live stream.
Right on, man, and hopefully I'll see you out one of these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe one day we can have a drink in a bar again.
Yeah, together. I mean, if you ever want to get a drink in an alley somewhere, I'm down for 40s too. So.
All right, brother, man.
All right, Pat. Love you, man.
All right, talk to you soon, bro.
Later, bud.
Later.
All right, that was Pat Harrington from Geezer. Their new. I guess I should have asked where the album is available for sale. I think they're doing vinyl and digital downloads. They're pretty easy to find. You would think that the name Geezer would be taken, but I think they're easy to find on Google and stuff. So we're gonna listen to our next guest is Bryan from Dead Empires and Wall of Ego. I have to pee because I've had 7 beers in me. So we're gonna play a Wall of Ego song, and then we're gonna get him on the phone. What's up, everybody? We're back. Episode 11 of 15 Beers on a Tuesday afternoon. We got my co-host. I should turn a light on here, but we had our co-host Uno the Pooch over here on the couch. Let me turn the light on. We'll see the dogs. I got up to turn the light on, and she thought we were leaving. It's fucking hot as balls down here. She wants to go back to the air conditioning. So we just talked to Pat Harrington from Geezer. That was pretty awesome. Our second riff lord of the day is John Bryan from Dead Empire's Wall of Ego. Cove Road. It's the first band that I met him in. So we'll talk about all that. Let's give him a call. Hello? Hello?
Dude.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing okay. What's
nice.
going on?
Not bad, man. Just hanging around, talking to some riff lords, you know? Typical
As you do.
As you do. Typical Tuesday shit. How about you, man? You just getting off work?
No. Tuesdays actually are, fortunately, my day off, so it's the day that I reserve specifically for riffing
Okay.
as a riff lord.
Oh, fuck yeah. Would you have a band practice today, or are you just riffing on your own?
Today, it's actually just me on my own. That's the one good thing I think I've gotten out of the whole quarantine thing is I've got a reasonably decent home, like, recording and practicing setup.
Yeah.
And have been just messing around a lot, recording a lot, trying out new stuff. And
Nice. Are you playing to drum machines, or what are you doing? You just...
a lot of it is me kind of just trying to collect ideas.
Okay.
And then, you just played a Wall of Ego song, but
yeah.
We actually had kind of started recording, like, right as kind of quarantine, before the world exploded,
Yeah,
like, right as that was happening. We had just kind of started that, and we kind of took a break for, 2 months or so, but we just kind of got into that. So I've been working with them, cutting tracks, trying to lay down some stuff.
Nice.
We try to do it as much as we can DIY. So.
Okay, yeah. So you're doing your own recordings?
Yeah.
What programs are you, like, DAWs are you using?
Well, I bought a interface that's made by this company called PreSonus.
Yeah, I have the audio box is what I'm running through right now.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, I have an 8-channel one and have gotten like surprisingly good recordings out of it.
Yeah, I bet. Huh.
Yeah, in our old practice space, in fact, we used to we basically had it set up so that pretty much anyone we shared the space with a couple of the bands. I don't know if anyone ever actually took me up on this, but basically it was set up so you could just bring a laptop and
USB
had,
right in, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
if you had your template saved, you just plug in and you get like a decent quality recording every practice.
Wow.
So.
That's amazing, yeah. So the 8-channel one, what'd that run you? Was that like $500 in that neighborhood? A little more?
I bought a used one on Reverb.
Okay.
And I think I spent a very merciful $200 on it.
Oh shit! Wow, my 2-channel was 100. So fuck, you did good on that one, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I had the 4-channel one for years, and I used to use that. And I actually would use that for podcasting and things like that. But we started taking around with it for demoing for bands and such. And in fact, the Wall of Ego EP we recorded in our practice space.
Oh, nice! It sounds great.
Well, thank you. Well, I have to do truthfully give most of the credit to our buddy Tom Bonasco, who has a studio down in Brooklyn called Mang Studios.
Okay.
And kind of the way we did it was the way that I look at it is I just tried to get like decent enough sounding takes, like decent enough sounding for each thing. And I actually just emailed him all of our stems, and he reamped everything and made it sound surprisingly good. So shout out to him and thank you to him, and that's what you were listening to a couple minutes ago with that Wall of Ego.
Nice. Are you using Studio One? Is that the PreSonus like digital
Correct.
audio work? Okay, yeah. Because that's what it seems like. A lot of the plugins weren't so great, so it seems like maybe taking it from that into like Audacity or having someone else just do that for you seems like that might be beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get too heavy into it. You know, like I said, I mainly use it for like what I would consider like demo quality recordings, and I think it does that aspect. I think it does very well.
Yeah.
And actually, they just put out an update. Oh man, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, they just did like a big overhaul of the whole thing, and they have a new like amp modeling thing that is surprisingly good.
Okay.
You know, for being thrown into a bundle with, you know, with some software, like it's a surprisingly good amp model. So I've been very happy with it.
That's the last time we recorded. I think the last Red Necromancer album we recorded at Nada, and he was fucking around with that, like it's like a head that just can copy sounds from other heads.
Yeah, exactly.
That was insane. I don't know. I don't know. It's a crazy world.
Dude, it's a brave new world on these things, and like I tend to be very much more of like an old school guy. Just give me like a loud tube amp, like that's what works for me. But over the course of this quarantine, like I said, I've been messing around with different amp modeling things and recording things, and man, it's intense.
There is no end to it. If you don't want an end to it, there is no end to it. It seems.
Exactly. It's wild. So.
I just inherited a pedal board, and I don't even know what the fuck is going on. You know, like I can't unplug anything because I don't know how to plug it back in. It's all, I don't know. It's a whole weird setup thing going on here. But it's through that and a solid state crate amp that I was also inherited. So I've been like fucking around with those, and I just have no idea where to begin. It's got the weird Yamaha thing on. I think it's kind of like the earlier version of the Line 6, where it's just like a Yamaha pedal that has all the effects that you could want, but none of them are really the way you want them to be, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know. I've been messing around with that. So pedal board wise, how do you like... How long did it take you to put your pedal board set up together? It's got to be years, a year long.
Oh, man. That's a big question, because I would say, like, the thing I love the most, truthfully, is just guitar pedals. That's, like, my favorite thing to collect and to mess around with. But if you have that Yamaha, you should hold it up to your cam for your live stream here so we can see it.
Let me see if I can do that.
But you know, I had I'm always swapping things out with my pedal board, and truthfully, what I did over this quarantine is I completely took apart my Dead Empire's pedal board and kind of pared it way down and built what I call my little baby board. And I actually bought like a little a pedal board that's maybe a quarter of the size of it, and I just kind of pared it down to what I think are the bare essentials. And even added like 2 new things to it, but kind of going for like a new philosophy with
more stripped down. Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of weird stuff. I don't know, like Ian Fuller is kind of like my go-to guy. So he told me that the power source is really good. He didn't really say anything good about any of the other pedals on there.
Okay, well, if you want to have a pedal board play date someday, you just let me
absolutely.
know.
How do you even? Like, if I wanted to introduce a new pedal to that, how would I even go about it? Like, I just gotta like unhook one and hook one up in its place, or?
It depends on how it's set up. Like if you have like a pedal switcher out front, there are many schools of thought to how you can do it.
Yeah. So like if you're gonna like you have your smaller setup, but you're thinking, oh, here's this new pedal that I might want to add to the mix. Where do you put it into the mix? How do you go about it? What's your process of testing a new pedal?
It would truthfully be like I would figure out, depending on what it is going to depend where it kind of falls in the pedal chain.
Gotcha.
Like, I think things definitely kind of have their places where they should be.
Okay.
So depending on.
See, I might need to know. I guess I didn't bring you on here to go through pedal board basics, but I don't know. Maybe you can write a blog post about that, or you can just tell me how that works. But
we could start a whole separate podcast that is literally just us nerding out about pedals and orders and shit like that.
Okay.
But it depends on where you want to put it and what it does, and you just kind of, fortunately mine is run through a pedal switcher, so kind of everything kind of runs to this bar that's on the front of my pedal board, and so I can kind of click things on and off and take them in and out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I can swap things in and out that way, reasonably easily, and sometimes I will literally, like as I'm messing with things, I will just have it sitting off to the side, and just, it just kind of, the last cable just will run into that, and then I'll run that into my amp or something like that.
Yeah, right on. All right. So you were saying you had a much bigger setup with Dead Empires.
Yes. Yeah, I had a reasonably big board. I want to say it was something like 15 pedals.
It's like a 50-pound fucking case.
No, dude, the case alone was 50 pounds. Like I actually bought when we did our last record, Designed to Disappear. I kind of went out and I was like, you know what? Like, we're gonna go after this hard. We're really gonna attack this record and promote like crazy and try to tour like crazy and do stuff. So I went and I bought this like super heavy duty flight case thing.
Okay.
God, I can't remember who I bought it from, but they built it custom for me for my board.
Nice.
And
wow.
It was, super heavy duty. It had foam padding on the inside. It had, cables that ran in and out, so like you could set it up really quick on a stage. And my thought, truthfully, was like, we're gonna go on the road a lot, and hopefully we're gonna like go to Europe and go some places far away and do some stuff like that. And I want something that literally like, I could throw it down a flight of stairs and it would be okay.
Fuck yeah. And so you put when did that album come out?
That album came out, I guess, at this point 2 years ago, 2018.
Okay. And did you guys tour a lot for that one?
We didn't. We toured a bunch in support of it. We did a couple 2-week jaunts with a couple different folks in support. I don't know if anything to warrant a humongous pedal board. But
Yeah. But I mean, why not? I mean, if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it.
Exactly. I was trying to make things. I really wanted to approach it kind of like long term. That's kind of always how I look at things.
Yeah, of course.
I try to think forward with all my purchases. Like when I think about pedals, I do a bunch of research, and I want something that I know is going to be versatile and last me a while, and
well, there's no reason to you spend $100 to see if you like something, and then you realize you do, and then you have to spend $700. At some point, it's better just read about it and spend the $700. You know what I'm saying? You're saving yourself money by just buying the thing that's going to last you for, as long as you want,
Exactly. It's kind of that philosophy of like, do something right one time.
Exactly.
Instead of, fucking around with it 3 or 4 times. Because then by the end of that, like, you've already spent more than you would have if you had just done it one time.
That's what, not to get, I guess I'm going to get weird now. But this pedal board that I was gifted, like my biological father I haven't seen in like 33 years. Since I was like 12 or 13 or something like that, and he died in February, which was not that whatever. I went through some emotions about it, obviously, but it's someone you haven't seen in 30 years. Yeah, exactly. But it's like pretty removed. Like I dealt with that years and years. My feelings about our situation years and years ago. But I just got a call like 2 weeks ago from his partner, the woman he was dating, at the time of his death. And she found me on Facebook, and she's like, oh, yeah, I see you're a musician. So I went and picked up all his musical equipment, which is funny, like, because as a kid, he played guitar, but he never, like, got me a guitar or shared that with me at all. But now I have all his stuff. And it seems like his approach is, like, a lot of $200 guitars. And it's almost like, sometimes it's the lessons that you don't learn from people that, like I have one guitar, I have the acoustic Martin that I'll play till I die. And so maybe the fact that I didn't learn the lesson of let's buy up 9 $200 guitars was a better move,
Yeah.
So with Dead Empires, what's up with like? Is that on hiatus or that's just Dunzo? What's the status of that?
For now, it's pretty much Dunzo.
Yeah.
It was kind of a thing where we, without getting too deep into it, it was
of course,
just, we had always said that if it wasn't the core members, like if it wasn't the four of us, and if one of us didn't want to do it anymore, then we would just say fuck it, and we would just cash in and move on. Like, there's no point in replacing people.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody cares. Like we did it because we loved it and we loved what we specifically did. So we said if one person didn't want to be there, then
so is that like somebody's life is just busy right now and you might revisit it kind of thing, or you're not even thinking about that?
We shall see, honestly. I mean, we put it to bed.
Yeah.
But as it goes for bands currently, we're in the, we're in the age of nostalgia, and everybody's getting back together, and everybody's playing shows.
So the reunion tour, it's possible.
Who knows? Yeah. Right. We all have no ill feelings towards each other. And,
right on. It's funny. I was looking back for pictures of this, and I really did not remember that DJ wasn't the first bass player.
Yeah.
It's just seeing the pictures. And honestly, it might have been just the same amount of time before him as after. I don't know how that exactly worked out, but it's just, I just don't remember the past,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny, when we started the band, like, I think we were doing stuff pretty much as a two-piece very early on. And we kind of, like, we were, hunting for a bass player, and then, we had a couple people who came in and out, but there were definitely times where we played shows as a two-piece.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a struggle, and even still, going forward now, like with Wall of Ego, we looked for a bass player for a year.
Yeah.
Before we found someone. It's surprisingly hard in the Hudson Valley, with I would consider like a very rich music scene. Like,
I think Jim DeGrassi's listening or watching the podcast, and I tried to sell him on that really hard because he was right up the alley of what you're looking for, but he's busy with life and whatnot. Well, for him, it was almost more than you, like, because you guys are right in the that Jesus lizardly kind of posts, that area that he enjoys a lot, that I enjoy a lot too. I watched some videos on your Facebook page today, and there's a video from Dark Side Records of you guys playing with a different bass player, and was it a different drummer too?
For which band? Wall of Ego?
Wall of Ego, yeah.
No, Wall of Ego has pretty much always been myself and my good friend Dan, who's our singer, and our buddy Steve, who's our drummer.
Okay, and it's those three, and then the bass player. Okay.
Yeah, and we had our buddy Matt playing bass for us for a while, and now we recently have been playing with our buddy John Fay, who I'm sure you know as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He plays in Elk with Jesse, who is the next guest, actually.
That he does.
He's a busy man, that John Fay.
Oh, God, seriously.
So I think what it must have been with the drummer is that the first clip of you guys I saw was with John Fay at BSP.
Okay.
Which I think might have been right after Diana's party. Like, and I just missed you that day, but then I saw the video of you at BSP later, and that must have been a more drony video, drony song in that video, because the video from Dark Side, he was like going fucking off, badass. So I just thought it was a different drummer, different song, I guess.
Yeah, we try to do. I mean, I always try to approach bands as what I call like kind of like organically. I like to see just kind of like what happens when you play with people and try to find that sound. And this one was, fortunately, we're all pretty diverse, and yeah, it's definitely a rock band as opposed to a metal band. I've been in a metal band for so many years, and this was my first attempt to say like I want to do just like a rock band. And in fact, I often call it dumb rock, because it's like we're not trying to be technical, we're not trying to be fancy, we're not doing huge guitar solos or songs that are multi-layered thematic concept albums. It's like we're just dumb and fun, and that's the whole point of this band. It's just a purely 3-minute good time songs.
But you're dumb, I think, is when you say dumb, I think of stuff that's, you know, a lot simpler than Wall of Ego. Like, you still have that, like, post-punk. There's, you know, there's some nuances going on in there. I don't know. I think it's
certainly. Yeah, I appreciate that. We do try to be thoughtful about our songwriting, and truthfully, most of our songs come out of we all live together. We're all in Beacon, and we're all you know, reasonably neighbors, and we get together, and whenever like something kind of makes us laugh, we just go, all right, that's a song. Here we go, and then I'll just kind of write. I'll write some music to it, and boom, and that's how we roll.
Just all about the weird shit in Beacon. How's Beacon doing with this whole quarantine stuff?
Beacon is okay. Beacon's always been to me, you know, a little sleepy, a little quiet. There's been, what I will say, to Beacon's credit, there has been a good amount of substantial protests in Beacon over the last couple weeks, and it's been a thing where, you know, I guess I've never been like a huge outspoken pro-Beacon person, even though I've lived here for many years, but you know, I give Beacon credit where credit is due, and they've been, I've gone to a bunch of them, and they've been great. So, well done, Beacon.
Yeah, fuck yeah, nice. And you also, I think the when I was going to initially air this podcast, you were going to the Poughkeepsie rally. How was that one?
Oh, right, that was on Blackout Tuesday.
Blackout Tuesday, yeah.
That's right. That was good. That was I went to the Poughkeepsie rally, and it was definitely like, you know, before I say anything, like, it ended fine. Like, it ended great. You know, there was so much crazy disinformation that was going out that there was so much like hype and people sending things out. Like, I was getting messages from people that were like, yo, watch out for these guys because I heard that these neo-Nazis are starting shit, and I heard that this guy's doing this, and watch out for this. And like, literally, businesses on Main Street in Poughkeepsie boarded up their windows. Which, you know, honestly, you know, like, I got a phone call, and you know, I got a phone call from Dark Side Records, from Justin, and he called me, and he was like, how do things look over there?
Yeah.
And I was
what kind of war zone are you living in? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I was like, it looks fine, man. Everything is cool. And he basically said that a business neighbor of ours down the street had kind of talked to him and was like super nervous. Like, they moved a bunch of their inventory, they locked all their doors. Like, they were like, we heard that some shit's gonna go down, and I was like, no shit is going down. Everybody calm down.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of hype. And like I said, in the end, it was, you know, I think, you know, a great rally, and also proud of Poughkeepsie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird because it's so hard. Like, if you want to troll or cause trouble, it's so easy to write a narrative that will really get people fired up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's so easy to get people riled to the point where they don't, you know, no one looks at their sources. I see smart people just posting shit from, like, this fucking, you know, obviously not real website, you know, because it says it's the headline is something that they want, you know, they want to believe in, or, you know, it's so easy to play on people's emotions with this, like, social media stuff.
Yeah, Poughkeepsie was a clear case of that. Like, a lot of hype, a lot of misinformation, just people hearing things from people. I know you can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes around that. And you know, and like I said, in the end, it was like, we marched. It was great. No windows were smashed.
Yeah,
you know, all businesses were cool. The whole, you know, so much of the city came out. People were out on their steps cheering us on. Like, it was a great day.
Nice.
I think.
Well, that's the whole, you know, I guess it's like I don't know, whatever, but not all cops are bad. Okay, well then, you know, one protester out of 20,000 breaks a window. One cop out of however many kills someone. You know, like, you're equating, you know, the people that are arguing that it's just one bad cop are, you know, saying the protests are getting too rowdy. It's much less, it's a window. Who the fuck cares about a window, you know? It's not a big, I don't know.
Yep.
Who knows? You used to work at Soul Dog in Poughkeepsie, right?
Wow, this is a deep dive podcast. Yes.
Let's fucking go. I don't know. I'm drinking beer, so I don't know. Shit gets strange. I don't know.
All right, let's get weird, man. Yeah, I did, and in fact, that's who I went to the Poughkeepsie Rally with. I'm still friends with the people who owned it and cooked there and ran it.
Gotcha.
And we're still friends to this day. And we went to the rally together. But
nice.
Yeah, Soul Dog was great, man. I had an amazing, wonderful, beautiful time in my life working there.
Yeah, and they were like very vegan. Were you a vegan then? How long have you been vegan for?
I've lived in Beacon on and off. Oh God.
Oh no, I said vegan.
Oh, how long have I been vegan?
Yeah.
I've been vegan, I think, 16 years.
Because Soul Dog was kind of on the cutting edge of like the veg, gluten-free. Like
yeah.
I remember going there, you know, like early on from the shack, like we'd take like little trips over there, and you know, they had stuff that I was like, gluten-free. What does that mean? You know, this in I don't know what's that, like 2003 and 4. I don't know. It was before I was aware of gluten-free or a lot of allergies or whatever people have. You know. That wasn't really a question.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know how much they want me talking about their personal life out in public, but you know, they but they pretty much I should say my take on it is, you know, they all were gluten free. Like they had a history of celiac in their family.
So
they opened it
for
as a place
people.
where they could eat.
That's great. And it is it was an awesome place. I dug it. So
now it's occupied by my buddy Pat McGuire, and it's Poughkeepsie Grind.
Okay, like a coffee shop situation.
Exactly.
Okay.
And just a great place run by a great dude. So if you're in Poughkeepsie and you want coffee,
Poughkeepsie
this
Grind.
is an unpaid advertisement for you.
There you go. I work, you know, not now because they're kind of shut down until 2021 probably, but I do event staff work for the Bardavon and UPAC.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of the Bardavon, they'll have like operas in the day. So you'll get a break, but there's like every place to eat in like a 3-block radius closes at 2:00 on Saturdays or Sundays. So there's like not a lot of good afternoon lunch spots around there. So, you know, not saying that someone should open an afternoon lunch spot so I can eat while I'm working in the parking lot, but, you know, maybe someone think about it.
Well, that's funny because like that's a thing that's happening right now is, you know, like me and my wife, like we're talking about like trying to take vacations and trying to go away for weekends, and we sort of have this thing where we're like, what the fuck is open? Like, if we went somewhere, what would we even do? Like, and unfortunately now we're like New York's, you know, starting to reopen. We're in phase 3 locally here in the Hudson Valley, but
okay. Are you the same as us in Beacon? You're the same as Kingston? Is it that's all the Hudson Valley region, or are you a different?
I believe so. I think it's Hudson Valley region. I think up to the Capital District.
Okay, gotcha.
And then obviously New York City is its own.
Yeah. I thought Westchester was different too. Like, so it's like Westchester, then us, then Capital Region.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. Don't quote me on that. But that's what I think it is.
That's what I think now here. Restaurants opened today. I think today at 50% capacity.
Correct. Yeah. Phase 3 went into effect today. And, you know, phase 2 was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which was, you know, where I work was able to open at, we do limited capacity. Not that we're worried about reaching capacity.
Yeah.
You know, but, and restaurants were able to do like outdoor seating, which has been honestly a thing that I always loved anyway in the summer. So I kind of look at it
yeah, exactly.
As a perk anyway.
Yeah. That's what I've been delivering for the Anchor. And, like, they are just ripping up Broadway. You know, there's Backos and there's, you know, blah, blah, blah. And we get every day. Like, we just do window service. You know, you can't even come in anymore. We'll just hand you can order and we'll hand you the food through the window. But people are like, oh, are you opening up for outdoor seating? It's like, you just walk through 2 bulldozers. And you want to you want a table out there? Is that what you know, like, you're out of your fucking mind, man. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that goes as this, you know, if it slows down. Because I went to visit my parents yesterday, and they were asking me, you know, oh, is the Anchor opening? I was like, no. They're like, oh. I was like, you know, are you gonna go out to eat? And they're like, yeah, we might go out for lunch tomorrow. I was like, you're out of your fucking minds. I think I don't know. It's like, if you can let other people just test the water, why would you know? I don't know. If that's a crazy thing to say, but like, maybe see how it works out for a week. You know, I don't need to go out to a diner. Like, I can, you know.
I feel you 100%.
Yeah.
And in fact, my parents are both. I would say they're definitely in the high risk pool. My mom is definitely a pretty high risk pool, and they were talking about they live in Massachusetts, and they also spend time sometimes in near Providence, Rhode Island, and they sent me a picture like, oh yeah, we went out to a restaurant and are hanging out, and I'm like, guys, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Just stay the fuck inside. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if I can curse on this thing, but
no, of course you can. Yeah. It's a shit show.
Yeah.
Pat was just saying he went up to Western New York, like kind of on Lake Ontario with his kid to some property that his wife's parents own. It seems like that'd be the kind of thing to do now. If you could find an isolated like place with some water to go and just hang out. But then you have to hope that there's supermarkets or whatever ready for you.
Yeah, well, in fact, even the venue where I got married for my wedding 2 years ago, we rented a summer camp.
Okay.
And
wow.
we had this brilliant idea where we're like, let's just throw the biggest party possible.
Fuck yeah.
And so we rented an entire summer camp so we could have like 180 people, and all the stuff that's involved with the summer camp we had access to. So there was like rifle shooting and archery and boating and fishing and arts and crafts, and we did a quote unquote. What was that?
Did you have instructors or no? You just
yeah,
access. They had.
Wow. I should say for the things like rifle shooting, they had people there. Yes.
Yeah,
for arts and crafts, it was just a free for all.
Here's some beads. Do it. Do what you gotta
do. But even they sent an email out. Forest Lake Camp is the place, and they sent an email out where basically, obviously all camps are canceled for the summer in New York.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to figure out something else to do and to try to figure out some kind of income stream. And so they sent an email out that was like, how would people who have had weddings here, how would you feel about doing like a reunion thing here?
Fuck yeah.
And we'll give you a good rate, and you can invite, I think it said you can invite like 8 to 10 families, people you're close with, people you trust.
Yeah.
And like we'll figure, basically we'll provide some food, but you can have run of the camp. And
you just bring your own booze?
I guess. I mean, that's what we did for our wedding, so I would assume we would kind of do that as well.
That's got to save you a ton of money right there, right?
Yeah. So we're kicking around that idea of doing maybe
like an anniversary.
We were talking about doing like a 5-year reunion and calling it Camp Cinco.
Fuck yeah.
But maybe we'll do a 2-year reunion this summer and just find people who we know who have been quarantining, are safe, have been looking after themselves, and get us together and do like a good social distance hang. But if anything else, it's just something to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where you can go and there's things that are happening and you can get food. You don't have to worry about that sort of thing, and get like I think everyone right now is just clamoring so much to do anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It seems like just thinking about it, it seems like your problem would be cutting it down to 8 or however many groups of people you had to eliminate, because it seems like a lot of people would jump on that pretty quick,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like we've kind of already narrowed down, I want to say 4 or 5 groups in our heads, just, at first glance. And the second part would be talking to everybody else and seeing who.
Well, luckily only 6 people listen to this podcast, so I don't think you're gonna like, oh shit, I heard about it on this, now I want to come. But
okay, well listen, Lara, if you want to come, just shoot me a text.
Oh, you just borrowed her 12-string, right?
I did just borrow her 12-string for these. We trying to finish these Wall of Ego new songs
with a 12-string. What kind of fucking Sepultura Beneath the Remains shit are you trying to pull here?
I would say 100%.
I thought you were dumb rock.
We're going 100% the opposite of that. We wrote. Oh God, what would you call it? I guess I would call it like a
Bon Jovi
shit kicker country song. I don't know if that's
okay. Yeah, all right.
But like just like a fun kind of rockabilly influenced, really up tempo country song.
Okay.
And we've been calling it the Wall of Ego theme song.
All right.
But
nice.
It's just it's very much like fun up tempo, and I honestly, truth be told, I don't think I've ever played a 12-string guitar before a week ago, and it was a ton of fun. And I guess is another box to check off on this whole quarantine trying new shit
there you go
list.
Have you baked any bread?
I have not baked any bread.
Okay.
I have not gotten on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
Jenny, my wife, has cooked some outstanding meals. I will say I have benefited, and I thank her profusely for the amazing meals that I've been able to take a part of. I don't think we've baked bread.
Okay.
Her mom has baked some bread that has, and she sent us pictures, and it looks amazing.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know,
Well,
I know that's a
tell Jenny
thing.
I say hello. I like her.
I will.
How's Dark Side Records? Is that you reopened on the 12th? Are you doing like online stuff before? How's your like sales breakdown work with that?
Yeah, Dark Side is going. I say this with caution.
Yeah.
Dark Side's going okay.
Okay. Good.
You know, like I was employed throughout the whole quarantine. You know, I was working from home full time, and we went hard on a strategy of focusing on online sales and e-commerce.
Yeah.
And we just, put 90% of our efforts into that. And the response that we got from people, not just like local folks who wanted to support the store, our regulars, put a ton of orders in, and we're incredibly thankful for that. But we pushed a lot, and we got orders from all over the world.
Wow.
We, had so many people show us kindness, and it was an okay quarantine for us.
Nice.
We were able to sustain some things and to go on through.
That's amazing.
I'm trying to think of like a button to put on the end of that, but I'm thankful that it was able to sustain, and we're back open as of the 12th, and we've had a whole bunch of people come out, and the show support that we got from people was, like I said, just incredibly kind and
nice.
And surprising, but that maybe sounds negative, and I don't mean it that way,
Yeah,
but
well, I mean, I think when disaster strikes, you think everything, especially you're told like everything's going to be terrible, everything is going to go badly, and then it goes well, and so I mean, surprising's not. I don't think it's derogatory.
Yeah, and I know how much so many small businesses are struggling. Like Jenny has her own small business here in Beacon.
Yeah,
and she also thankfully thinks we're going to weather through all this and everything's going to be okay.
Awesome.
We were talking this morning about how I feel like on Main Street in Beacon, we had a couple businesses close, but like for all the, doom and gloom that surrounded the quarantine, like I think locally we made out okay. Like, most of the businesses are still there. Everyone seems to be, while everybody's kind of pitching in, but everybody's struggling, and it looks positive. And granted, I say that everything changes weekly.
Yeah, exactly.
In the current world, so
well, Beacon always seemed like a very kind of close community where it's like everyone's kind of in with each.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a community there, and I think that's good for situations like this. Like, oh, this place can only do this, so let's go get that from there because we're working from home and we have the money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I started delivering for the Anchor when this happened, and I think a lot of businesses in Kingston, for instance, that are maybe more successful than them, but don't have like a family type crowd or like a crowd that they're like has a loyalty to them.
Mm-hmm.
Started going to takeout and they just dropped right off, but I think people were like very loyal to the Anchor, so like their business it kept them afloat, or like the fact that they have built a sense of community or family with their business helped them out tremendously during a time like this, is I think what I'm trying to say.
Certainly.
Cool.
Yeah, there was a thing even in Beacon that was called, I guess I don't know how they pronounce it, but it's we're together, or we are together, or we art together, or however you want to do it. But
some werewolf shit? What?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
But it was like Beacon, a local guy here in Beacon put it together, and it basically was they got local artists, and each artist paired with a local business and made a T-shirt design.
Oh, shit,
And they were all limited edition and all super cool, and basically it was you kind of I think the businesses got to kind of decide how they split it between the artist and the business, But it was just kind of a way of people just coming together and doing stuff to kind of all support each other.
That's awesome.
And that's exactly like the Beacon mentality right there.
Yeah, I think I saw the Beacon Bread Company version, the shirt from that. I think Diana posted.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like, Jenny had one. She got this amazing artist, Tara McPherson, and did a shirt for her. And
fuck yeah.
Just there's some cool shit in there.
Yes,
So,
that's awesome.
Again, kudos Beacon.
So I think we're gonna wrap this up with the beginning. we're gonna bring it back. You want to go deep dive? But I first met you while I was running the Taco Shack, and you would order two bean burritos with no cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd order them as Raul.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'd be like, everybody was like, that doesn't really look like a Raul. Whatever. It is what it is. But then Tiger Piss played a show with Cove Road at the Firebird Lounge in Rhinebeck.
Wow.
I remember talking to you then, like, yo, is your name Raul? You're like, hey, I'm John. Like, what the fuck, Raul? And you do that because you're ordering vegan burritos, and it's an unusual name. And that way you'll get it. The cook will remember Raul 2 bean burritos. Right? That's your intention behind that?
That's 100% correct. Yes.
It has saved you from getting cheese like dozens of times. You've still probably gotten cheese sometimes, but like there have been times where we have a new counter girl and I see Raul 2 bean burritos and I'm like, I know that it's not cheese. So I just you just like circumvent the counter girl and don't put cheese in it. Do you do that with other restaurants too?
At the time, I did. Yes, Raul was my takeout food name.
Oh, it was just, and that was the name for. I was hoping you had different ones for all of them, but okay.
I never really gave it that much thought to create all. I can only keep so many alter egos.
Yeah, I got you.
In my head.
Yeah.
But even oh god, the guy who owns Karma Road, Seth.
Okay.
I think is his name. I happened to see him. God. I want to say it was like a couple years later. I had moved out of New Paltz, and I was back in town doing something, and he was at a restaurant eating dinner with a couple people, and he was like, Raul, come on over! and I had to sit down and be like, yeah, my name's not Raul. I really just want to, I'm sorry.
But they're vegan, right? What were you worried about with them? Like, what were they going to fuck up?
Again, I just had a thing going.
You ordered the same thing every time?
Look, everybody remembers Raul. Okay?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Everybody remembers him.
Okay. So if it's the normal Raul order just slightly off because the counter person took it wrong, then you think that the people will correct. Yeah, and you were definitely right at the Taco Shack, very, very much. Like that definitely saved you from a lot of cheese experiences.
Yeah.
All right.
And also just, I don't know, I always try to have fun with these. I think it just started out trying to have fun.
Yeah.
The bottom line.
Absolutely.
And anytime you can kind of go for a laugh or do something that's just kind of ridiculous and, harmless, you just life is short, do some silly shit.
But for me, the Raul thing is kind of like the green M&Ms with the Van Halen. Like, it's like, it makes sense when you think about it. I thought it was ridiculous. It's kind of weird this guy's doing. But then, like, have you ever seen the interviews with that? Where, like, David Lee Roth is like, well, we had a, like, 100,000-pound stage show that needed a certain amount. The weight needed to hold. The stage needed to hold a bunch of weight. Like there were a bunch of things like on that tour because it was fucking huge. That needed to be. They were in the rider that needed to be met. Otherwise, it wouldn't be safe. So they put that in there. So if there were like green M&Ms, they'd be like the guys didn't read the rider. It's like it sounds like they're being dicks, but it's like a test. You walk in, you see there's green M&Ms. Let's go see if they've like checked out the important stuff.
Sure.
So
sure.
Let's see if there's cheese in this burrito.
Classic David Lee Roth power move.
Yeah, you got to do it. All right, bud. Well, I'm gonna let you go. I love you. You said you're doing some new Wall of Ego recording. When should we expect that?
Oh, who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
It's like. The conversation we've also been having is, like what the fuck is the music industry going to even look like in the next 6 months? What are shows going to be? So we're taking our time. We're trying to do stuff and crank it out. But I'll post stuff. You can follow Wall of Ego on the Bandcamp or the Facebook. This is my shameless plug.
Yeah, get it, man.
And you can also, I actually just started recently playing with another band called Manu, who you can also go check out. Also another great kind of rock band.
How do you spell that? Manu?
M-A-N-U. Manu.
Oh, all right. Well, I think me and Pat were actually talking about that earlier, about how hopefully this whole quarantine experience is gonna have a lot of people that are you have a lot of bands that are like can play something and make money and do shows like jam bands or whatever it is. But during this experience, it's like you're not making money playing whatever. It's a good time for people to just make what they want to make for the sake of it. So I think you might get a lot of cool art out of this because of that.
Yeah, certainly. And, as far as what the industry will look like,
who knows? I mean, but none of us are going to be rock stars anyway, so what the fuck do we care? We're not. It's not like Wall of Ego isn't going to, I mean, or maybe they will, but, you're not looking to make a career on it, Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I always said the music industry, actually I should say, my buddy Justin said a very wise thing, which is he said the music industry is like an ecosystem and that there's room for everybody in it. And so that's what's going to be curious to see how that all kind of shapes stuff going forward. Right. I mean, I'm still going to play rock tunes. I miss my amp. I can't wait to play loud in front of people again. And as soon as it's safe, as long as venues will let us do our dumb shit on stage, we're gonna. So
I can't wait to see it. All right, bud. Well, I love you. It was great talking to you.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Later days.
Yeah.
All right, John Bryan from Dead Empires, Wall of Ego, and Manu now also works at Dark Side Records. It was a fun interview. We're going to play his old band, Dead Empires, while I go pee. Luna's going to find me upstairs. She shouldn't, but can't teach an old dog new tricks. And then we're going to talk to Jesse Cunningham from a bunch of bands. What's up, mofos? How you guys living? We're here, episode 11, Riff Lords of 15 beers on a Tuesday afternoon. A little boozed up. I didn't think I was going to hit the 15 tonight, but 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And we got a shot. We'll see. We just talked to John Bryan from Dead Empires and Wall of Ego. This is a new project, also Dark Side Records, with this new Dead Empires track at the end. Listening to the track at the end, I forgot to ask him about the whole transition from being an instrumental band for most of their career. Una's coming back. We got a co-host. To having a singer for the last album. I forgot that whole line of questioning, which is a problem with being drunk while you're trying to do an interview podcast. But I guess that's kind of the point. Fuck that one up, man. So yeah, we got Jesse Cunningham. I've known since like maybe 95, 96, I think, playing shows at the Woodstock Youth Center, which used to be the best shows, or maybe still in my 25 years of playing music, some of the best shows I've ever played. Morgan Evans would set a lot of them up. People just went bananas. For Hauler was the band I was playing with at the time. Then Joey's Throwing Elbows later on. Jesse Cunningham was playing with Melancholy, Fuse, Knuckle Diver. And now he's a riff lord extraordinaire to this day. I love him to death, and we're gonna call him up right now. That buzzing a little bit once the phone gets on. What's up, Jesse Cunningham?
You can hear me all right?
I think so, yeah. I think we're good.
All right, cool. How you doing, Kevin Sharp?
Pretty fucking good, man. How about you?
Doing all right. I'm doing very 2020.
20. Oh, yeah. It is a crazy year. Wait till the super volcano explodes. We'll see how we handle that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or Godzilla, whatever's
We'll just roll with that shit, too.
Yeah. How is the fucking landscape? This has been a hot fucking year. How's the landscape business during this?
Well, I do not a ton of landscaping these days, so I'm doing more like fence building. But the
But
problem is like
that can't be good in the heat either, right?
Yeah, I mean, the heat's not a big deal. It's finding materials to work with has been a real bitch this year because like everything, like wood is like toilet paper.
Oh wow.
You go in because they shut down all the mills during the
Okay.
height of COVID. If you mid like in
Gotcha.
Canada, we get most of our lumber from Canada.
Yeah.
So they shut those mills down for a while, and that caused like this butterfly effect in the supply chain. So like you go to the lumber yard and there'll be everything's there, and then it's gone, but they don't have it like in the back like they normally do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just all right. Well, the next truck's coming in August. It's like,
how's that work with
okay.
customers? You're like, I can do this with shittier wood, if you want, or are you just like, I can't do this? You have to
Luckily,
turn
the
shit down.
clients that I'm working with now are very understanding.
Yeah.
And I was able to do like jobs where it's mostly done except for the pretty part.
Yeah.
So like all the structural shit is done.
Gotcha.
And I had the lumberyard send me official emails to like, hey, it's not just me being a lazy asshole.
Yeah.
Like, shit's weird right now.
Yeah,
so,
it is a fucking crazy time.
So I'm just rolling with it, as much as I can.
Absolutely. I saw you did a online video where you played along to some drummer from what band?
From Monolord.
So he just like put out a drum track for people to play along with, and
yeah,
you just riffed it out.
I did 3 of those actually.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, it was fun because I love that band. They're one of my favorite bands, and he's very active on social media.
Yeah.
He runs a studio in Sweden, so he's like always kind of like drumming up work.
Yeah.
So he was just doing these drum loops. He's like he's a very atypical for like a doom metal drummer. He's very much like a pocketed player.
Yeah. Okay. Whereas doom drummers that's kind of their feel.
Yeah, like he has that feel, but he's like very very he has like the discipline of like a funk drummer who like plays high level studio sessions.
Gotcha.
He's like
okay.
Like everything is very much where it needs to be.
Yeah, right on.
It's not very flashy, but he was like doing these. His name is Esben Williams, by the way, and
Gotcha.
he was doing these drum loops, and I think I did the first one in March, and I was like, oh, shit, well, I got nothing else to do. I can't go outside, can't do anything else, so I did some riffs over it, and like instead of just filming me like yet another dude sitting in a room with a guitar like most people do, I did a finger puppet thing with my daughter.
Shit.
And so that got more likes, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, of course it would. I mean, what do you mean you don't know? You knew what you were doing. Like let's not be coy here.
then I did another one where like instead of me, I just like it was like the video of him playing the drums, and then I just like videotaped me petting my cat for the whole time.
So you basically learned how to dominate social media.
I'm gaming it.
Yeah.
Gaming it.
That's awesome. So just as this was starting, you were kind of like about to come out with 2 new projects.
Yeah, pretty much.
You played your first Elk show in February.
Yeah.
And you were about to play the first show with the other band. Was the other band again? I always forget.
With Plutonium Nyborg.
See, you go Elk, and that's like, okay, yeah, I remember that. And then Plutonium Nyborg, I'm dumb.
Well, Plutonium Nyborg is kind of it's a deep cut reference to the heavy metal movie, the animated movie.
Gotcha.
There's a scene, I don't know if you remember the movie, but there's a scene where there's like the 2 alien space truckers, and they do like this gigantic. They're like, hey, we got any Plutonium Nyborg left? It was like 1 bag. They basically do a bunch of space coke.
Gotcha.
And that's what it was called.
All
right. When we were having trouble naming that band because it was it's kind of doomy, but it's kind of doom with like a punk rock bent to it.
Yeah.
But we were like, we can't name. I don't know. We don't name anything. It like sounds too serious or too overtly like stereotypically doom metal. And we had all watched the movie recently.
Oh, okay.
Like together. Like I went to practice and we all got snowed in. So we're like, let's have a movie night because like we got a freak snowstorm.
Yeah.
And we're just like, hey, why not that? It's stupid and ridiculous, and no one else has it. So
nice. I mean, that's smart. Like, honestly, like, I can't believe that Pat got Geezer in, like, 2011 or whatever he did it. Like, seriously, that's a popular. You can't, you would imagine someone would have snagged that name before. I mean, I love it, and it's something they're perfect, but
I have to think that it has been snagged by like dad bands playing covers of Tom Petty.
But they aren't gonna go out
no
and put out
an
album every fucking year like Pat does.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
is fucking awesome. But.
Yeah, we were gonna play. We were getting ready to play some shows with that band too. We were like tightening things up. It was kind of moving forward. It was like that's a little bit harder to practice with that group because Matt Rice is he plays rhythm guitar and does the vocals. Matty.
Yeah, Matty.
But he lives in New York City and he's a paramedic.
Yeah.
So pretty much it was like, well, you're like on the front lines of shit, man. Like pretty hardcore. So
yeah.
Kind of definitely even more so than the other band. Like I put like a damper on things. Like But
have you talked to him? Is he still like going? Is it still like balls to the wall for him down there right now?
I talk to him pretty frequently. It is it's definitely gone down a lot.
Yeah.
He actually missed the big wave because he got promoted from EMT to paramedic.
Gotcha.
So when he got put on the line again, it was still like raging, but it was starting to go on the downward slope. But he was saying some crazy shit.
Yeah. I can't imagine.
Like how many people in a day he would watch die.
Yeah,
like crazy, like things that I don't know. I haven't seen anybody die ever, like not recently anyway.
Yeah.
He's I saw 5 people die of cardiac arrest this week because that's how you die of COVID when you're deep in the hole of it.
Yeah, it's very easy to frivolously, oh whatever, it's only 5 people, because you didn't have to watch those 5 people die, or it's only this many people. Because you didn't have to watch those motherfuckers die. Yeah. It's like that's obviously.
I mean, and that was just him. He was saying like one of his guys in his department had, because I guess like one of the big ways you die, like the very end result of the COVID infection is that you actually die of cardiac arrest.
Okay.
Like one of his guys in his unit like saw 50 people die of cardiac arrest in a month.
That's crazy.
It's like insane. It's insane. Yeah.
I mean,
so,
the toll that takes on you as a human, like, and how you recover from that, has got to be, I don't know, very extreme.
I think it's a high burnout job.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. Especially during a time like this. Like, I think normally it's, but then during a time like this, Jesus Christ. So to switch back to riff lording.
Let's lighten this shit up.
All right. So I've seen you posting a lot of Instagram videos of you just like rocking some blues stuff.
I've been playing a lot of guitar.
Yeah. So
that's I've been kind of digging. I never really dug into. I've only been the last couple of years like actually digging in how to do like a blues lead.
Yeah.
And finding a lot of people on Instagram and like, oh, I'm just gonna steal riffs off this dude and licks, and there's a guy named Jared James Nichols on Instagram who's, he's totally wanky dude, but he plays just like blues style lead guitar and he doesn't use a pick, so there's no speed picking or arpeggio shit that doesn't come into play at all.
Yeah.
It's just he has a very aggressive finger style that sounds like he's using a pick.
Okay.
But it's just like one tasty lick after another to the point where it's ridiculous. But
yeah,
I can listen to those 30-second things he posts and be like, oh, there's a thing I never thought of, and he stole it off of.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's done something before. It's just how you put it all together, right?
And he's very upfront about it. It's like, oh yeah, that's a Leslie West thing. Who stole it off this? Who stole it off this? Who stole it off this? So. But it's kind of been usually where I start working in March after the winter break. I was like at this very weird standstill, but I just doubled down on sitting home with my guitar and
so
playing a lot of
once
shit.
You work more, that's when you play guitar more? Is that what you're saying?
No, usually I play more in the winter.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So like March is like, this March is weird because I wasn't working.
Yeah. So you got an extra month of.
I had an extra month and change. So. And we didn't get to do as much stuff with the bands, because everybody was obviously not in the same rooms. So just kind of play with my own shit, really.
Have you tried like trading, recording tracks back and forth, or is
I did. Well, we were going to try and do that with Elk, but John, our drummer, John Fay, he was in school. He's getting his master's degree in psychology, and so he was in school, and he got switched very abruptly from going to school every day to having to do it all at home, and so he was just kind of pretty overwhelmed with that. You know, and he was just like I can't really focus on music, guys. And we're like, right, we get it, we understand. We weren't like busting him about it, but
of course.
So we couldn't really do much with that. But I did the stuff with the guy from Monolord. Me and Pat Harrington worked on some stuff together.
Oh yeah, I would love to hear that. What is that about? Like,
we did a couple of tracks, and they're still kind of like in the touch-up phase. One of them, it's me, Pat, Justin Zipperly plays drums on it, and Earl does some vocals on it.
Oh fuck yeah! I just delivered food from the Anchor to Zipperly the other day.
Yeah.
I was like outside the door to his house. I knew it was him because it was on a ticket. So I call him to see which door, because he's got a basement door that's right by the entrance, and then you have to go up the stairs. So I'm calling to ask which door it is. So he's like, "What's up, man?" And I'm like, "Which door do I go to?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Why is Kevin Sharp calling me?" I'm calling you because I'm bringing you your cheeseburgers. But I don't know. It's a whole weird thing. Then we got to hang out for a little bit. It was pretty awesome.
I haven't seen physically. I think the last person I've seen from Kingston was Pat.
Yeah.
Because I went over to his property to talk to him and Liz about, they wanted me just to look at some projects. And this was must have been the very beginning of March.
Yeah.
I don't know. The winter was so weird. I can't judge it by the weather of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
It might have been January, but it was warm and I was in a t-shirt. I don't remember. So
you're a landscaper. Am I wrong, or is this fucking summer been hot as balls right off the bat, like way earlier than last year?
It was cooler longer. It was definitely cooler longer.
This year. Okay,
yeah.
So it didn't get. I feel like I remember a pretty long spring last year, because last year was my first dog walking year.
Yeah.
And I remember a solid 2 months where I was like, "Holy shit, this is amazing," until it got to the point like, "Holy shit, this is like walking through a fucking death." I don't know.
I feel like that. This year was like this very kind of temperate coolness that was kind of when we finally started working. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was nice 40 to 50 degree range when you're doing like labor or whatever. It's a nice level to kind of keep yourself regulated. You don't overheat, but you're not cold.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of that, and it didn't really start to get like sweaty balls hot until June. And I feel like we're on the track of last year with that, but I feel like the last year was hot. Maybe it was. I don't remember it having such a longer cool stretch last year.
Yeah, I think it got warm earlier last year, as well, like kind of like temperate at least earlier. It went up to 60s or 70s in like late March, whereas this year it kind of held on to those 40s for a while, maybe.
The weather is just another thing that doesn't give a shit about people.
Yeah.
So, fuck
Fair
us
enough.
about that.
So, when you're like sitting home in the morning writing riffs, right?
Yeah.
Are you, you have Plutonium, Nyborg, you have Elk. Are you like writing for either thing, or do you write with a purpose, or do you just like play and see what happens?
I play and see what happens.
And then think, oh, this might fit with this, so then you start like developing in that direction, or
what I've done in technology has helped this. I have this thing on my computer that's like a guitar amp.
Okay.
That I can plug in with headphones on, so I don't wake up my daughter.
Yeah. What's it called? Like, what is like an emulator kind of thing?
Yeah, it's called Guitar Rig.
Okay.
And I've been able to like dial in what my actual amplifiers sound like. on this thing. So, and I just plug my pedal board into it, and I just start playing. I always start up with like, that's a thing I've kind of developed over this break, is actually do what real official guitar players do. I have a warm-up routine now. Like, I never did that shit. I never did that shit before.
Yeah.
Now I do it, and I'm like, wow, this actually makes sense. Like, do this thing you do every time, it limbers you up, and then I just kind of fall into, I don't know, whatever I feel like doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a bluesy thing, sometimes it's a metal thing. It depends on which guitar I pick up. You know, I have the guitar for Elk is in standard tuning. The guitar for Plutonium is tuned a full step down.
Okay.
And a drop C tuning. So it's
full step down. Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's got a heavier.
Yeah.
But it's weird because this is guitar geeky stuff. But I have like the pickups in it aren't as loud as the pickups in the Elk guitar. You know, so I don't just rely on this heavy doominess. So it forces me to do, when I pick up that guitar, it's like lower tuned.
Yeah.
It still forces me to just play guitar, not rely on fuzz and all the distortion, you know. So whatever just kind of comes out, and I just record it right then and there and just kind of throw it in the bank. And I have this a file on there, and I name them things that, like, whatever, you know, I'm sitting here at my desk and I write a riff and like, what am I going to name this? Poland Seltzer, because there's a Polar Seltzer thing on my desk.
Right on.
And it means nothing, but I remember it for that. And
that's so kind of how Hauler used to name our songs. So yeah, I completely.
It's a fucking great way to name songs. Yeah. That's what Elk does. Like, none of our song titles make any sense. So.
Yeah, I mean,
we also don't have any lyrics. So.
We don't owe you shit. You know, like we don't owe you any explanation for what we're about to do. You know.
It's just music. Enjoy it. Have a beer.
Exactly. So with Elk, are you thinking about getting a singer? And is it me?
We've thrown around the idea, but we've never really. We've also thrown around the idea
singing,
of one of us singing or all of us singing somehow.
Yeah.
Like John has actually got a pretty good voice.
Yeah.
I don't know that he wants to be the singer, and the drummer at the same time.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I've done it for a couple festivals, like Heavy Rebel, just because we didn't have a drummer, you know, and we had a lot of guitar players or bass player, you know, to fill in with me and Mal. I don't like it.
I mean, how does that, like, if you're trying to hold the rhythm down and then you're doing this thing that's completely arrhythmic, you're doing this melody, how does that? How do you reconcile that in your brain?
It's part of drumming where you separate yourself to an extent, but it's a new thing that, I mean, I'm sure like Zach Shaw is fucking great at it.
Oh, he's
you know,
fucking brilliant at it, yeah.
So I mean, I think it's pretty much like learning how to, you know, play the hi-hat, you know, snare, ride, and 2 kick pedals at the same time.
It's a funny thing though. Like you mentioned Zach Shaw, and like, it's a thing that nobody wants to do, but there's a few people that do it, and it's always brilliant.
Yeah, I don't.
You know, I mean, then you think of like Levon Helm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, him and Zach Shaw are a lot different. You know, different animals. Like Levon.
Very different animals, but they still pull it off very well.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I could do. I mean, even my acoustic music is like slightly aggressive driven.
Yeah.
Where, like, you know, times that I've gotten to play with where I just sit there with an acoustic guitar and I can have a full band behind me is like very freeing. There's been very few and far between. One of them was with you early on at the Roundhead Music Lounge.
Or we did we do a couple of gigs? One was at Tony's.
Yeah, well, no, I played with you, but I played with the Blind Ambassadors as my backup band early on, and that was fun.
Yeah.
I remember starting Fear and Loathing. And I always start everything too fast, but then Zipperly kept that pace, and I was like, "Holy shit!" It was like, I could barely like keep up.
Justin played on a couple of these tracks with me and Pat, and
are you guys
Justin's like, he's like, you know, it's typical Justin, where it's like, this is a rough track, and I'm like, this is brilliant. This is brilliance.
He's so good. Yeah.
So,
are you releasing those, or like, what do you?
Yeah, we just got you got to tweak them up a bit. Justin's. I was gonna mix them, but Justin actually went to school for that shit. So
yeah.
And he was like, "I want to mess with him." I'm like, yeah, maybe you should. Yeah, maybe you actually know how to do that better than I do.
Fuck yeah.
And Earl sang on the one, and like it was the same thing with Earl. Like, I just did a swing at it, and it's like 4 different separate tracks of vocals with harmonies, and like
exactly.
it's so Earl, and just like holy shit.
He's got a thing.
That'll work. Yeah. That'll work. You know, it was great. So, but yeah, that's. I don't know where I was going with that. I think I interrupted you.
No, I don't know, but that's fucking cool. So, like, I don't know. Where's this next question? Like, the idea of a band being... I don't know how to articulate this, and I'm a little bit drunk, so that's weird. But, like say with Tiger Piss, we had me, Danny, and Lara, and it's 3 people throwing their ideas into a pool, and weird shit came out of it. Other bands are like one person has an idea, and you find people to fill in. But just like the idea of a band going its course or going its life, you know? Or like why, you know, when you start a band, do you have an idea of like what you wanted to accomplish? Because I don't think I ever have, you know? Like I started a band and I'm like, this is what I want to do now.
Like a goal-oriented kind of thing.
Exactly. Like, oh, let's make an album that's this cool. And, you know, or like, you know, like a band not as an idea of like a forever thing, but a band as an idea of like for a specific mission, you know?
I've never had that luxury. Like I've had that thought to do that with bands where I've gotten together with people and be like, this is what I want to happen. And then you start playing with them and you realize that none of them have that idea.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah, and I find that the bands that over the years have worked, it's because everybody just kind of found a role.
Yeah.
And stayed with it. You know, like when the Blind Ambassadors, that was kind of like Dave didn't want to sing, but he fell into the singing role. And it worked for us, you know, for what we were doing, and everybody brought something to the table, and I would write things, but everything would be filled out by everyone else. You know, that to me it feels like that's how it always works the best, when everybody has something to add.
Yeah.
Or
absolutely.
if or someone is like honest with like, I don't really have anything creative to add, but I will support you.
Exactly.
Like,
go
be honest with
mission,
yourself as a musician. Yeah.
And just, you know, support someone's, like, that's the thing. One of the weird things with Tiger Piss, like one of our last songs, Wash It Away, was on the last EP, and I remember writing it, and me and Danny were like, Lara kind of like spearheaded it. Mm-hmm. And we were like, you know, we got it. We got the first 2 parts now. We're like, okay, this is good, but this is like a typical like root scene bullshit, whatever. If this is what you want to play. And then I think it was my idea to just like make it go straight like fucking super fast punk rock at the end. It's literally the best song we've ever written, you know. But it was like, and even us saying like we were talk shit to her about the beginning of it, but the beginning of it's really good. You know, it's like we were just, I don't know, we're dicks. You know, you especially being in a band for a long time with people, I feel like you end up being dicks to each other. You know, it's like it's hard to keep
I think it works. Kind of works better that way if you get to that level of comfort.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then you get over the hump where it's like, okay, we've known each other so long that we get like, I know what kind of asshole you are. Yeah.
But, well, while we're on the subject of Tiger Piss,
all right,
I gotta say that I think Danny and Lara's playing I think kind of went under the radar as a whole of that band. Like watching Lara play locked in with your playing, but singing at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't. She
thinks
really,
she's not a good bass player, and she's out of her fucking mind.
I've had this conversation.
She's out of her fucking mind.
I've had this conversation with her, and it's like you're crazy. You hold it down and sing your crazy vocals.
And she's a musical bass player, so she plays like ways that bass players don't. Like, I think if you're a bass player, you like are trained to like hit certain notes or do whatever. She's doing it as a guitar player, singer, and she's like doing these little, I don't know, the way she phrases it is a unique thing, I think.
But she was playing like legit bass lines, though.
Yeah.
They were like,
she's great. Yeah.
You know, and then Danny's just his guitar playing again. Like, I think I had this conversation with him. It's like, dude, you underrate yourself.
Yeah.
Like, his playing was just always very atypical, kind of fitting his personality in a way, because Danny's Danny, but like,
yeah, he's a fucking weird dude.
But he's a phenomenal piano player, and I feel like that maybe that piano playing informed his guitar playing, and like his phrasing on a lot of your songs, I'd always be like, I would have never have thought.
Yeah, he's very
to
unique,
make that
yeah.
to do that. It's like just such a weird, quirky phrase that he would and executed well, not just because like I'm just punk rock weird fiddly stuff, like executed well. So
I think one of his problems, and like it's my problem too, like I don't challenge myself, like, and especially with Tiger Piss, like I didn't challenge myself to try to learn a bunch of different drumming styles, or like, like I can't do half the shit Zipper Lee or Tatro do, because I've just never like sat down and like really pushed myself to that extent. But I feel like I have a personality on the drums that I kind of let carry myself.
Definitely, yeah.
Which, like, again, if I could combine the two, it would be better. Like it would. Same with Danny. He's got his own thing that's like he can do, but like we were covering like Pixies songs, and there's some songs that I can play that he would just be like, wait, no, that's super. He would like dismiss it as super easy, but then have a hard time doing it. And it's like, you just as a musician or a human being, like you shouldn't have that level of like hubris. Like there's no, admit that like it is easy, but it's hard at the same time, and that's what makes it beautiful. Or that's why, you know what I'm saying? Like even if you don't like it, like there's something to it that I think he was quick to dismiss.
I mean, there's truth into the thing where like every band I've been in, and I definitely noticed, even with Elk, like we have like one or two songs that are definitely a higher tempo. We're not a fast band, but we got a couple of songs that are a bit more up tempo. And there's a couple of times where, we had lapses in practice where we didn't practice for a month or two.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, let's get back on the horse. And we'd kind of like go to those songs first.
The fast ones.
And they would be like, done, easy.
Yeah.
Like, we remember that shit. Because the pace of the song made it very easy for you to see where things are coming.
Muscle memory and come right back to it, yeah.
But we also have songs that are on the total opposite side of the spectrum. We have one that's called Cave Monster, and it's this like very long, drawn out A minor chord progression, like very drawn out, like ridiculously. And that always was like the hardest song to come back to, and when we were like not playing regularly.
Is it about me?
Is it about you? No, that's just actually the title came from, I think Peter Head sent me a message one day asking me about like, hey man, did you ever hear about those giants in Afghanistan that the army found? Like some random thing about conspiracy about the U.S. Army had fought like legitimate giants in the caves of Afghanistan.
That would be a good comic book.
Yeah. So that's where the title came from. But that always been like that was always the hardest stuff to kind of play is the spaced out stuff. Like,
well, even when me and Jim DeGrassi were playing like the caveman beats, like I've always been a punk rock dude, so I'm like always like super in front of the beat. Right. So like that time, the couple times that I actually hit a decent caveman beat in those, right? Is that what you call it? This is what you call it,
the
right?
caveman beat, like the big.
The couple times I hit it, I was like, "This is amazing to me," because it's not my forte for per se,
It's like Dale Crover kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's he's fucking terrific, but yeah, I haven't had, I would like to play more in that realm and develop myself, but that's all about being a musician. Like you don't have to be great at everything, but it's fun to try to be,
I mean, as soon as you think you're good enough, you start sucking.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as fucking hot shit as you think you are, is some dude's gonna fucking make you look like a fucking idiot. So,
like I'll feel like I've learned a bunch of shit, and I'm like, oh, look I can shred the fucking guitar now. Then I'll look at a Joey Eppert video.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's right, Joey Eppert still is alive and can do Joey Eppert things.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm not really.
And it's funny because then you see like a lot of stuff that like you'll watch a band play for 5,000 people, and you're like, that drummer is really not that great. What the fuck,
Yeah.
But it's just like all part of her presentation that there was other shit put into that doesn't have anything to do with him, but he's just playing his role,
That's how it goes, man.
Yeah. So you thinking about any like Knuckle Diver Fuse reunions during this pandemic?
I think that ship has passed.
Yeah.
I think we tried a Fuse reunion a few years ago. Well, we didn't even try it. We talked about it. And the drummer Adam Heyer, who's like pretty much not on social media, like.
Oh yeah, I remember Adam because Adam used to play with Pitchfork too, right?
Yeah, he was the original Pitchfork Militia drummer.
I remember. I don't know if it was Fuse or Pitchfork that we played at Sweeney's with Joey's Third Elbows, and I remember Adam playing drums.
Adam, yeah, that was definitely Fuse.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Well, he got in. The reason that Fuse basically started was because Pete called me. This is like in the days when people called people on the phone. That's how old we are.
I mean, imagine trying to meet a woman when you had to call her landline and be like, "Hello, hello, Allison, this is Kevin." It's like that's so fucking awkward. You can just be like, "Hey," with like 3 letters on a fucking text. It's fucking weird, man.
We're in that like crossover generation.
Yeah, it's fucking.
We understand both. The pain of both.
Exactly. Yeah.
But Pete called me and was like, "Hey, man, we got rid of our drummer. Like we parted ways with our original drummer, but I think he'd work for you guys. Or I think you'd like to jam with him."
Oh wow.
Because he didn't like playing what Pitchfork was doing. Like he liked when they played hard, fast stuff, but anytime they slowed down,
and they were like they were a lot more cowpunky early on when before it was popular almost. Like.
Yeah. Pretty much, it led the charge on that. And literally, when I think about it, it's funny because he gave me a guy's phone number. I called him. He didn't know who I was. And then we just made a series of phone calls. Like, that doesn't happen now. Nobody makes phone calls. And it just, I called Morgan and be like, "Hey, I think I got a drummer." Because it was right after Knuckle Diver kind of, like, it was pretty much ran its course. That was only going to go so far, and Morgan was like, "All right, well, I'll call Damien." And that was it.
I remember, like, right around that same time, like, we were trying to do our first hauler. We were like, we're going to tour. We're going to tour for, like, 2 months. And I was, like, calling all these venues, from Book Your Own Fucking Life. Because there was internet, maybe then. It was, like, 94.
Oh, it was awful. It was garbage.
I didn't have it. I didn't have it. So I'm calling these places from Book Your Own Life. And I remember talking to this dude in North Carolina that was like, "Oh, fuck yeah, I got a week full of shows for you guys." So I penciled it in the calendar. I told Ian and Tom, like, "Yo, I got this shit covered," And I was calling us pop punk, So
yes, very pop.
I mailed him our tape, and then I get this call back a fucking week later, like, "No, dude, no, we can't." He wanted Screeching Weasel, kind of like whatever 95 pop punk, Green Day, and just kind of broke.
You were one band too early on that.
Yeah, it's like nope. Oh, sorry guys. So like, it was like we had a 2-month tour with like 4 shows booked, and Tom canceled the night before, and we were like, "You're a fucking asshole."
Was that the end of Hauler, pretty much?
No, not really. We broke up, and then we reformed to move to California to play again.
Right.
But then we broke up. And now I'm trying to reform now. Like the stuff you're doing with like mailing tapes around, I'm like 2 guitar players, Ian Fuller and fucking Tom LePage, with Jim DeGrassi playing bass.
Yeah, do that shit.
We just don't. We don't have a good. I mean, I'm going to say this, and it's maybe a little bit rude, but I think I'm the best singer in Hauler, and I don't want to do as a drummer, but we're not going to play live shows, so maybe I can do the drum tracks and then do the song. Or maybe we can all do... I mean, E. Fuller is actually doing some good country singing, but...
Well, like, that's like... It brings me to a point. I was actually talking to my wife, Erica, about this. And, like, how for years, like, I would, like, not want to leave an area because I'd be in bands.
Yeah.
And, like, oh, this is where my musical roots are, and this is my life, etc., blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then there was this long gap where I wasn't in any bands, and I was very much like, we didn't, obviously, but I was like, hey, we could fucking move to Sweden where your family lives. Yeah. I don't care. Let's go. No, but then I got into a couple bands again. I'm like, oh, I'm stuck here again because this is my musical life. But then COVID hit, And I didn't stop playing music. I still kept collaborating with people and like creating music. I was like, oh, I can live anywhere in the fucking world as long as I have an internet connection, and I can still make music. So it kind of like switched into my brain. Like I have the technology is like very affordable now. You have a laptop with like enough memory and like a thing to plug your cables in. That's it. You're done. You got a couple pieces of software and you're done. You know, microphones if you want to get fancy. And but you don't really need to be that fancy about it, because in the long run, nobody really gives a shit how fancy your microphones are. And you can just still keep creating music with everybody on the fucking planet.
It's amazing. I mean,
it's amazing. And that the amount I've done it, even like, you know, doing stuff with Pat, who's only in Kingston, but unprecedented time where you can't literally go to your friend's house in Kingston.
Yeah.
But we still made music, you know. So if you're gonna do that, just find a space for your drums. Maybe like you're a drummer, you do need some mics and stuff. But
yeah, I'm fucking with that now. Like, what are you using a particular DAW? Like,
right now I had my old computer shit in bed. I used to use Logic. Right now I'm using GarageBand again, which is kind of.
And you're a Mac guy, right?
Yeah, I just like Logic as a DAW, but I don't have the dough for a new computer at the moment, but I'm using GarageBand. I don't love it because it doesn't have the operability, or that's probably a lousy word, but it doesn't have the functionality of Logic. So I was used to having more options, but GarageBand for anybody just dipping their toe in is actually just fine.
Yeah, but that's Mac only, right? Is that?
It's Mac only. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, I got the fucking Windows like a fucking Neanderthal.
There are plenty of different. I mean, I could send you some links.
I'm using Studio One. I have the Presonus audio box. I was talking to John Bryan before. He has the Presonus audio box 8 input that he bought for $200, and I have the 2 input that I bought for $100. And I'm like, fuck, that math doesn't work.
I'm using like a Behringer, which is like the everybody hisses at Behringer.
Yeah.
But, I bought this thing for like 50, not even like maybe 30 or $50 on Reverb or something used.
Okay.
It works fine. You know, I'm not trying to record Abbey Road over here, so.
Well, you know, who knows?
It works. But there's John would know, and there's a lot of different interfaces you can get. Like the technology has become so affordable now, you know.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to do. Like, that fucking, you see that Post Malone fucking Nirvana concert? Like, they were in the same house and they're all rich, so that it, like, detracted from me. But I remember I was, like, about to go to sleep at 12:30 at night, and then someone was, like, shared it. I think it might have been Mike Darcy or something. And
Mike Darcy posted it.
I started fucking watching it, and I'm just like, I watched that for the fucking full hour and a half. I was like, holy shit. Fucking Travis Barker fucking kills. Like, that was fucking, you know, the tone and the aggressiveness of like what Nirvana became with In Utero. Like they became a different, like, you know, heavy fucking machine with those fucking songs. They opened with Francis Farmer. That's fucking great. Like,
that was interesting too. Is like a lot of people are like, oh, Post Malone can play guitar. Like,
he's very good. Yeah, he does a lot of shit. Yeah.
If you look like years ago and like where he started his career before he became what he is now, he was doing like singer-songwriter Americana.
Yeah.
And there's like a video of him at like the some music store in LA, Norm's Rare Guitars. It's like where all the rich people go and buy, you know, 1961 Gibson SGs.
Yeah.
And he went in there one day, and so everybody's filming him, and he's in there like shredding some blues riffs. They're like, oh my God, Post Malone can play. It's like the guy learned all of music and then realized which music made him the most money, and did that.
Fuck yeah, you know.
So, cheers to Post Malone.
Thank God Oscar or David Yao didn't figure that out before. Like, freaking, you know, Dwayne Dennison could have been, you know, this big pop guy.
Well, I think they just the Jesus Lizard tours every 10 years or so.
Yeah.
So those guys can pay their mortgages.
I missed it last time. What was David Yao's band before the Lizard? It was like Electric
Scratch Acid.
Okay.
I think there was a member of the Jesus Lizard in that. David Sims, I think.
And then Dwayne Dennison is also in some like kind of rootsy thing as well, I think.
I think he was associated with the legendary Shack Shakers, but he's not in that band. They have a different guitar player.
All right, gotcha.
Their guitar player, I actually saw the Shack Shakers in Woodstock last year.
Colony, okay.
And yeah, Erica got the tickets, and I was like, yeah, why not? And the opening was J.D. Pincus from Butthole Surfers.
Oh, fuck yeah, nice.
And I had no idea. I was like, I know who this guy is. Like, fuck, Butthole Surfers. But he gets up there and he's got a banjo, and he's playing it like through loops, and he's like not just like banging on a banjo like too many people do now. Like he actually knows how to play Scruggs style and clawhammer, and he's like legitimately playing the banjo.
Yeah. But
like doing these creative things with like delay and all that. And the guy's got great vocals. He's like got a great set of pipes.
All right.
So I was like, wow, J.D. Pincus. This was the most enjoyable part of the night.
That's fucking great. Did you not like the Shack Shakers?
I thought the Shack Shakers were great, but it was a super unexpected surprise. Like, here's this guy I knew about, and I didn't know he was going to play here tonight, and then he was awesome.
My friend Husky Burnett from Chattanooga, I think he's friends with JD, and he, I don't know, he's been around the scene for a long time or whatever. Right when this first happened, some record label like Ruckus and Boonies or something did an online concert. Like a bunch of places have done it. I think Red Necromancer's going to do our Heavy Rebel online concert.
Right.
But this place, Ruckus and whatever, and they did $400 the winner, voter, like American Idol. $400 to the winner. You play two 90s hits. And it was like the week, I think, this is episode 11. I interviewed Husky episode 4. I think it was April 21st. And he told me,
I remember that. Yeah.
He told me about it, but he wouldn't tell me what songs he was going to do. He's like, I'll text them to you after because I don't want anyone to steal our shit. And he's like, somebody's going to do a bluegrass like pop song and they're going to win. But we're going to do. So he did him and a drummer, and they Came In Through the Bathroom Window and Dirty Black Summer.
Nice.
As their two 90s hits, and I was like, they crushed them.
Wait, who was in my room last night?
Oh, who was in? Okay, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And then fucking Dirty Black Summer, and they fucking crushed them, and they lost to this girl that did, I forget what she did. It was like Waterfalls or some shit. I don't know. It was like, it was like what you would think, and she did a very good job. She was very good at what she did, but it was, it was like, for me, what they did not go unnoticed. It's like you picked the good shit.
I mean, mentioning Dirty Black Summer, and I have not heard what I'm about to mention, but have you heard it? The Elvis Danzig?
No, I haven't.
I haven't been able to do it.
Yeah.
I've heard things.
Like
not flattering things.
I have like this hollow body guitar now, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna learn how to play electric. Because I'm like a drummer that plays meat-handed chords, like open chords. I don't know how to play guitar very well, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna learn how to like translate that into a hollow body or an electric. And I'm thinking maybe learning Danzig songs is a good way to go, like.
Yeah, I mean, Danzig 1 or 2, like the guitar playing, the rhythm guitar playing is pretty simple stuff.
I don't know.
That's John Christ or Christ or whatever, however you said his name.
Like that, those the first 2 albums, or the first album especially, like, it's fucking,
those albums are solid.
Yeah.
I listen to those albums a lot. And I was not a fan of the Misfits or anything.
I liked them, but I mean, I could play punk rock guitar probably. But Lara says the Elvis Danzig album is terrible.
What is terrible?
Yeah.
but is it like cult terrible? Is it going to be so bad it's good?
It's weird because he is so, he has all the capability to make, he could get the best fucking band in the world behind him. And he's obviously got a decent voice. Like, I know he's got a decent voice because I've heard the fucking Danzig albums. Like, why is it terrible? I almost don't understand it.
He also makes bad decisions.
Yeah.
Remember the Danzig knockout video?
All right. Well, but that at the same time, like, if he would
that was a bad decision. He pushed a guy who was twice his size.
If he would have fought the dude could have sued him. I don't know. I kind of half buy his defense for that. I mean, whatever. You shouldn't be that guy, but you also shouldn't show up, I don't know, late for I don't know. There's shows happen all the time and different shit happens,
Fair enough.
Like the Bryan Setcher tour we were on with Lara Hope. She went over 2 minutes one night and there was a fucking scolding and it never happened again.
Right.
Like some of these shows, like, they run on, like, oh, your band, you had to drive 7 hours and you're late. Like, literally, no. That there is no room for that. Like, there is, that sometimes happens.
Well, yeah, when they're playing those venues that are pretty big and there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. Yeah, it's like stuff that I don't necessarily understand. It's funny talking to Pat where he's talking about opening for Marilyn Manson and fucking Motorhead. That's crazy shit.
Pat's a serious scene veteran.
Yeah, absolutely.
Worldwide.
Lara says, it's mixed so terribly and the guitar tone is crapo. It sounds like Danzig is singing in a different room than the rest of the band. It's weird. It's like, if you're that dude, how can you not make that better?
I don't know. I mean, there's that, like, Last Queens of the Stone Age album that sounded like they ran the whole thing through a Boss EQ pedal that somebody stepped on by mistake.
Well, that's got to be just bad aesthetics, right? Like, they just don't, what they like isn't good.
When you compare it to the album before that, which is great, and then they were just like, fuck you, we're gonna do it like this. I mean, then there was I think a Primus album, like the Brown album, which is like notorious for sounding like Radio Shack microphones.
Yeah.
Filtered through cardboard boxes because Les Claypool decided, I'm going to do it all myself from now on, because I'm Les Claypool. But it sounded like cardboard boxes.
There you go.
Well, if you're famous, I guess you can do whatever you want.
I just realized I had a picture of your pedal board up for like 20 minutes while we were talking.
You have a picture of my pedal board?
From Facebook that yeah.
That's better than my face, so you can leave that up.
No, we got good ones. Now we got the Blind Ambassadors up, and it's black and white, and Panulo's wearing the Red Necromancer shirt that you designed, so we're bringing it on.
The napkin design. That was a proud.
You did a good job, man. That shit was.
Yeah, that was my proudest graphic design moment.
Yeah.
I was briefly considering doing that as a sideline.
I mean, you did good.
I think I peaked with you guys.
The problem with the shirts was we had Eric Bruce print them, and he printed them like all print. Like, I think now there's a way to do it where it's not so heavy on your chest, but it's like because that white of the circle of the pentagram was so big, like you just had that like flat paint sitting on your chest while you're wearing those shirts. Like,
it's definitely got some padding.
Yeah.
On that.
I think now technology has moved on where you can make shirts that are not so much like that. But.
Well, he was probably doing like an old school screen printing.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He's like 90s nostalgia where he DJs but he plays CDs. Not vinyl, not digital. He's got that weird 90s revival shit like really spoke to him.
Hey, somebody's got to be true to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's got to hold the flame.
The squirrel nut zippers.
Eric's gonna do it.
Yeah, he's got it. I love that dude. But he's fucking. That's a weird era. From the night, like, for someone to hold on to something from the 90s and it be this weird retro 50s thing. Like, my experience with 90s was like The Lizard, like a lot of Fugazi, Rancid, like that kind of shit is my experience of the watching MTV when I learned that we could get the closed captioning on the videos and then listening to all the words on Alanis Morissette videos. That was fun.
Well,
I don't know.
It's the world we live in now. You can latch onto whatever makes you comfortable or happy and just stick there. I mean, why is there still, why is there a rockabilly scene still? Why is that still thriving? Or a doom metal scene.
Yeah, because people are...
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, you find it, and like there's always new people coming in. And it gets to be, you're not going to be Metallica famous.
Yeah.
But you might
meet a bunch of cool people.
Following.
Yeah, it's fun.
I could play. I didn't play. I went to see last big show I went to was in New York City. Was Desert Fest.
Okay.
And Monolord played at that. Elder is another band that's kind of fits into the genre. Not quite. They started out more of a doomy band, but they definitely got more proggy in their years. But had a lot of bands like that. That kind of fit in and around that genre. Easy Rider Records kind of bands and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And, it was in New York City. There was a lot of people there. It was not like Ozfest, a lot of people. It was a place that was probably, if you took Keegan Ailes and made Keegan Ailes like 4 times the size, it was that size of a place. And it had an outdoor area for the stage. But, there was a lot of people there vibing on the same kind of music. And, which I don't think you would get those communities in the past without the internet. It was just like whatever was being fed to you by the radio or your friend's older brother was giving you. That's it. That's your choices. Or MTV, which doesn't exist anymore. So I think it's smaller groups of subgenres that people latch onto.
Yeah.
But people find community in that stuff.
Absolutely,
and that's great.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
I talked to Pat about Electric Beer to Doom earlier on, and that reminds me a lot of, I've been watching have you seen Murder in the Front Row?
I have not, no.
It's like the Exodus fucking documentary. It's basically Bay Area thrash. It's on, I think you have to pay for it, but it's on Amazon Prime. But it's like basically Exodus was the shit of Bay Area thrash. Bonded by Blood was like the first one, the big shit at the time.
Well, Bay Area thrash was the shit.
Yeah.
It was like the holy grail of thrash. Basically.
Yeah, and like fucking Slayer came up from LA. They played 2 shows. Slayer came up with eye makeup on. And Paul Bailoff was, after the first show, was like, "Don't ever do that again." And they never wore eye makeup again. It's like for the the singer that got kicked out of Exodus after Bonded by Blood to say that to Slayer. Let's fucking, I don't know.
What was I gonna say? I was thinking a lot about like old school thrash lately, and something came up on the internet about Joey Belladonna. I guess did some song with Frank Bello, I think.
Okay.
I actually didn't listen to it, but that conversation became like, who was the better singer in Anthrax, John Bush or Joey Belladonna?
Yeah.
And
I mean, Among the Living. Come on, you can't fuck with Among the Living.
The thing is, like, I always loved Anthrax's sound until Joey started singing. I always felt it was a horrible mismatch. Like he was not quite good enough to be in a hair band. The notes weren't quite always getting there. And John Bush kind of, he was all right. I think it kind of fit the aesthetic more, but it was a bit like a day late and a dollar short by the time he joined the band.
So you're not a big Anthrax dude.
But I was.
Okay.
But it was just like I just kind of like would tune out the vocals as much as I possibly could. I think Persistence of Time was my favorite.
Okay. That was later. I remember ordering Among the Living on tape from Metal Disc or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was like my first introduction. I was like, holy, that Among the Living is, for me, is like fucking epic. Like, I was like 14, however fucking old I was. And then they came up. they came out with State of Euphoria after I knew who they were, and I thought that one was even. In retrospect, it's a little too poppy for me. I think like Among the Living is like more what I like from Anthrax.
I think the albums I had were Among the Living and Persistence of Time. I haven't.
Oh wow.
Honestly, I haven't listened to them in, I don't know, 20 plus years, but
yeah,
those are the ones that and their B-sides thing.
Yeah.
Attack of the Killer Bees.
Yeah.
Which was pretty goofy.
I just watched a video interview with Charlie Benante, where he says that he invented the blast beat with Milk from SOD.
Yep.
And he's like, other people played it better, but the first recorded blast beat is Milk from SOD. And I don't know, I'm not gonna fuck with him, but
that makes sense. I mean, that album, what SOD was 85?
85, yeah. Yeah, who? Slayer wasn't doing blast beats.
I mean, was there a D-side yet?
No, maybe Discharge or something, but no, there was no.
Oh,
there were no thrash bands doing thrash beats. So
now I think, well, that is a straight up blast beat because the da 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 da.
It's
there's
only
like
a good fucking song, man.
I think that was a very early song I learned.
Aside from the fucking like misogyny and racism.
Man, like looking at SOD now, I listened to that first album they have two albums, I guess. I listened to the first one a lot, and I think about that now. It's like, wow, that's problematic as hell.
Yeah, it's bad. Did you see they just recovered like "Speak Spanish or Die"?
They did what?
They did some like socially distanced "Speak Spanish or Die," where I think Billy Milano's wearing a Mexican wrestling mask, and I think it's kind of like trying to correct the.
Yeah, you can't, guys. Sorry, you just gotta
whatever.
You gotta own your past a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Speak English or Die was the name of the album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was our sound man at a Tiger Fish show in Austin, Texas once.
I've heard the Billy Milano story.
Yeah.
I heard he was a nice guy though.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, he was very interested in Lara. He was courting.
Wow.
And that was a tour where we were opening with Welcome to the Jungle. So he was the doorman, and he was all about her. And like, you've seen like Live at the Ritz? It came out right as Guns N' Roses was breaking.
Yep.
I think that's one of the best rock and roll fucking videos ever. Like Rocky Queen on that, they're all out of tune. They're so fucking drunk. There's cigarettes everywhere. Like fucking Axl takes a cigarette out of fucking Slash's mouth. I don't know. It is, and they're like, it's not in tune, but it's fucking rock and roll.
Yeah, but it's genuine.
It's like, the theory of like what the Rolling Stones, what made the Rolling Stones popular was that they were that rock and roll. What made Guns N' Roses popular is that they were this fucking rock and roll. It's like, holy shit, what are you fucking doing? So Larry's never seen this, but there's the fucking fucked up Axl Rose in it. He's like, I walked into Los Angeles with a backpack, saw a black man on the bridge. You know what it said to me? You know who you are? You're the it's a stupid fucking story. So fucking Lara, Billy Milano's all about her, So she calls him up the stage as soon as we started get our like little soundtrack done. Billy Milano, get up here for this. It's about you. And she does like the Borscht Belt version of it, where it's like, so we pulled into Austin. You know who we saw? Anybody? Does anybody know who we saw? No? We saw Billy Milano. Billy Milano, remember? You remember this? You know what Billy Milano said to us? Anybody? Billy Milano, you know what he said to us? He's just like, what? She's like, he said, you know where you are? You're in Austin, baby. And I just do the and he just fucking, the look of disgust in his fucking eyes, he just fucking bolted that room. It was
you soured Billy Milano.
Yeah, no, it was something. You can't win them all, Jesse. You can't win them all.
Is anybody that rock and roll anymore though?
As SOD?
No, I mean like early Stones or Guns N' Roses, where it's like these guys were just happened to be good at making music, but they were just legitimately a wreck.
Yeah.
I mean, is anybody actually that good without it being just a pose?
Yeah, I don't know. That's an excellent question, man.
I've seen a lot of poses.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I mean,
like it's hard to get that. Like and like this is one of the questions I wanted to ask all day today, but I don't think I even got to it with everyone. Me and Pat talked about it a little bit. Was like when you start a band, are you thinking like, what do I want to do with this, or are you thinking like, let's see where this goes? You know,
let's see where this goes for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like I've always I think we talked about it earlier. Like, what are your goals when you start playing with people? And I found it early on that having goals kind of always sink the ship.
Fucks it up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've only been in, I think, Long Bend. I don't know if you ever saw that band. That was me and Matty Rice and a bunch of other dudes. That was like probably the most Guns N' Roses-ish as far as attitude bands I've ever been in.
Okay.
We were just always drunk. We were always smoking cigarettes in places where you're not supposed to smoke cigarettes. You know, we were just always too loud, and the shows were always really fun because.
And this was late '90s. This was before.
No, this was early 2000s. It was like the band me and Matt formed after getting out of the service.
Oh wow, okay.
It was kind of a flash in the pan, but it was that vibe. You know, we were always hammered. People were on coke. People were on drugs.
Yeah.
You know? But the shows were fun because we brought that attitude. But you know, I've definitely listened to the recordings of some of those shows and been like, holy goddamn shit, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's like the dichotomy of that. Like, oh, that has an energy to it, but then you know, 3 people who have family lives that really articulate their parts and send it back and forth to each other to create this beautiful thing. It has a different energy, you know. There's like combining.
But is that rock and roll in the same way rock and roll was rock and roll?
Yeah, I mean it is and it isn't. Yeah.
I think there's a meme going around that shows like that, like rock and roll in the '80s, whatever, and shows like Slash sitting there with like a bottle of Jack, barely comatose, like, and then it says rock and roll now and shows like a guy sitting at his desk with a Mac.
Yeah.
With like an 8-string guitar with a fan fretboard and like typing in some MIDI notes, you know. Like,
dude, I've been like, and I wasn't at the time. The '90s were weird for me, where I was getting into like Lizard and Fugazi and stuff, and I kind of left my metal roots. So like Chaos AD, I didn't appreciate until fairly recently. But Refuse Resist, like that album, Chaos AD, it birthed nu metal because other people thought they could do the same thing Sepultura did. But that album is fucking bananas, man.
Yeah.
Like that song.
They're very brutal albums.
Yeah, they're fucking Refuse Resist, and just where it goes to the fast part. Everything on that album is just like, ooh, what the fuck are you doing? But they do that D-tune. They do a lot of shit that, like, I think a lot of other people were like, oh, we can just do that, and that's what became nu metal, you know?
It's weird because when I listen to old Sepultura, and I've heard people like make that, oh yeah, Sepultura nu metal, it kind of gave birth to that. It's like I don't hear that.
Okay.
What I hear with Sepultura is like even way more punk rock than what metal was doing. You know, it's like this music was guys from Sao Paulo, from like one of the biggest ghettos on the planet, who were angry as fuck, and in their own country were worshipped like gods because people were so fucking angry. And Brazilians love angry, violent shit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what the music they were playing was just angry, violent shit that really just spoke to a generation of disenfranchised people.
Yeah.
And then, like, nu metal doesn't do that for me.
I think musically, though, a lot of things they did, like, Sepultura, like, took metal and made it more rhythmic.
Yes, definitely.
And I think that's kind of where, like, a lot of that Korn or, like,
okay, I see that.
You know what I'm saying? Like they took certain rhythmic things from it, and that's, you know, I don't know. That's at least listening, because I don't know shit about Korn. Like I missed that whole. You know, I never had a Limp Bizkit album or whatever.
Nu metal is like it's a very wide swath of things get thrown into that. I mean, you have Korn, and then there's like
the Deftones. People love the Deftones, but I'm not that well versed with them. And I think that they're probably pretty good, but they also think that they started nu metal on accident. But
I mean, Sepultura is some timely shit at this point.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. Heather came and posted that refuse resist video, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like.
I think every Sepultura video was basically the band standing in the desert.
Yeah.
Like clenching their fists, not playing their instruments as much.
Yeah.
And interspaced with like riots.
Riot scenes. Yeah, exactly. It's like that's what someone posted. Like, oh, well, Run the Jewels is probably like the most poignant music that's coming out right now.
Yeah.
But then someone else is like, oh, Rage Against the Machine is probably second, and I posted the Refuse to Resist video. It was like, well,
nah,
they're not as active, but you could talk. You could be on a. I guess Sepultura was on a probably major label at that point too. But.
I think Rage Against the Machine had kind of like missed their opportunity with everything that's going on. They kind of we're gonna play Coachella. We're gonna play Madison Square Garden. We're gonna do tickets for $200. Like, listen, you guys, if you've made your money, don't tell me you need more money. If you need more money, you fucked up.
Yeah.
Someplace.
That's
and
fair.
Instead they could be Rage Against the Machine could be playing like, what is it in Albany? Something, the Pepsi Arena, is it still
or
called
the back of a fucking flatbed truck.
Play 3 nights at the Pepsi Arena for $30 a pop.
Yeah.
You'll be packed every night, fists in the air in the land of hypocrisy for 3 straight nights, and you didn't, you weren't selling tickets to, trust funders for $300 a piece. Yeah. You're the only band that had Leonard Peltier in their fucking videos.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who the fuck that was, but you did it. And now where are you? Now you're playing guitar for Bruce Springsteen. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that like broke me, like that Big Four stuff. Like, oh, Kev, you love Slayer. I've seen Slayer. I don't know, maybe 15 times, something like that. Are you going to the Yankee Stadium show? Like, no, I'm gonna pay $250.
Yeah.
To be fucking 300 feet from the stage. You're out of your fucking mind, man. I missed one of the biggest regrets of my life. The Week in the Abyss. Like, we used to go as like high school kids, our like senior and junior year. We'd go to shows at the Chance, and we would never buy tickets before. And it was the Week in the Abyss. It was the first show of the week. They did six shows, and then released Seasons in the Abyss right after that. The first one of those was at the Chance. And we missed out on that because we didn't buy tickets before. And it's like, imagine seeing Slayer right before Seasons in the Abyss came out at the fucking Chance. Are you out of your fucking mind? Like, that would have been bananas.
That'd be pretty rad.
I saw him at the Civic Center years later, where they had like 14 like of those like tech metal bands playing before him.
I've seen Slayer in that regard, definitely in the.
But
Slayer, Lamb of God, and everybody else on every label.
Yeah. But they would, that one they at the Civic Center. This is probably like 2007, maybe 6. And
I might have been at that show.
Yeah, it was like Jägermeister sponsor did or whatever.
Yes, I was definitely at that show.
But they started playing fucking they do 4 songs, and then they started with Angel of Death after 4 songs, and like me and the dude that we were getting drinks, and we're like, oh fuck. But it was like such a different. It wasn't as brutal as most Slayer shows,
Yeah.
Where you could just like literally push your way up front. It was like a very younger crowd, probably because of the opening bands, but it was like
I saw Slayer at a club in North Carolina, which was pretty cool because I had seen them a few times, but it was like to be able to be only 20 feet away.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, and it was this weird place where it's called Ziggy's by the Sea. I think.
In Wilmington, right?
Yeah. But I know if you've been there, you know how it's like weird how there's like 5 different levels you can stand on. It's like, it seems like everything's like the Chance times 10 as far as like little places you can stand. So but it was cool to see them there because like me and my ex at the time we were kind of just like on one of the rails and like, oh look, there's Slayer, they're right there.
Fuck yeah.
And I saw Clutch at that same place, and that was a weird show because Clutch was kind of, I guess they routinely play a little bit bigger venues now, but they were kind of in this before they had been picked up by like the Jackass crew as being cool.
Gotcha, yeah.
So they were still playing like these weird venues with with locals, and it was the longest set of locals they crammed on like chant style.
Oh, just trying to get people in there.
Yeah.
And make the door
money. And it's like, oh my god, and they were all horrible.
That's just some of those like early the Testament shows at the chants. So it was like,
oh god,
there
Testament
was like
is
one
the
band
poster band for that shit.
There was one band called New Faith, and I remember just buying their cassette for $5, but it was like, you guys are fucking dog shit. You're like, and they opened for literally. They must have been friends with the guy that run the chants, or maybe related to him. But they opened for every single fucking thrash metal show to the point where it was like, what the fuck? And the show that we missed, the season you missed, I think Carl Carlu bought the fucking cassette tape bootleg of that show at Rock Fantasy, and that band New Faith opened that fucking show too. And it's like, how the fuck, you motherfuckers, man?
So you got to look up that band now and see who was in it.
Yeah, New Faith. Yeah, it's obviously somebody that like had a foothold in the like, whatever scene. Clash of the Titans for me at the. Oh shit.
Oh wait,
Hazel.
Real quick, my daughter wants to say hi.
Hi, Hazel.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
Your dad's a Riff Lord.
No.
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 I'm listening to an audiobook.
All right, kid. I'm gonna finish up my conversation. All right, I'll be out in a few.
I won't bug you for anything else.
That's fine.
That was pretty. That might be the most adorable moment that's ever happened in 15 years.
Your friend isn't bugging you.
It's not bugging me. You're right.
Not called bugging you.
Well, I actually should probably wrap this up pretty soon.
Yeah, we're good.
But,
at what point are you gonna hand her a guitar?
What's that? Say it again.
At what point are you gonna hand her a guitar?
The guitar?
Yeah.
She has a guitar.
Okay.
She actually has. She has. My father-in-law is also. He's British. He's been playing guitar his whole life. He's actually very good at it. And he showed up one day with a junior-sized Stratocaster that is actually very well made. He found it on eBay, and so she has her electric guitar.
All right. Are you gonna let him teach her, or are you gonna teach her? Like, what kind of stuff's he into?
She's not super interested in like sitting down and learning the guitar yet.
Okay.
But she sings, she dances, and she's into music in general.
All right.
So I think, and she's very like right now she's playing with my pedal board. I have a volume pedal on the board, so very interested in that kind of stuff.
All right.
Right now, I think the young ones have sensitive ears, so like the sound of dad's music can sometimes be a bit too much for the ears.
Gotcha, yeah.
So she's still getting used to that, but I think she's gonna play an instrument.
All right.
It might not be guitar.
Yeah.
She might just be the next, I don't know, Beyonce or some shit.
I'm gonna do violin.
Violin.
That's the
violin.
money. You want to make money, play music, play violin.
We've basically been saying like pushing, be a drummer. Be a violin player.
Oh well, you Erica plays bass, right? Well, Erica plays everything, so yeah.
Erica was learning drums for a bit. We had to break the set down because it was taking up too much room in the house. But
all right, well, Jesse Cunningham, I love the shit out of you.
Kevin Sharp, I love you too, brother.
This has been fun.
Good to hear from you. One of these days, I'll actually see you in person.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think this is going to be the last 15 beers that I do with you.
Right.
So we'll repeat the same.
I'm all for it, man. I have a good time every time.
All right, bud.
All right, you have a good night.
Yeah,
and,
you too.
To the next 15 beers.
Thanks, bud. Cheers.
Take it easy.
All right, Jesse Cunningham and the adorable child. Is that not the best moment in 15 Beers history? Love you guys. I don't know what we're going to close out with. We'll got to pick a song to close out with. Let's see what we got here. Oh, we have another fucking geezer song to close out with. I think that's what our plan was. All right. Love you guys. Like I said, 2 weeks we're doing episode 12. If you have any input on who you want it to be, what theme you want it to be, you let me know. Love you guys. Thanks so much.